Yes, I sent you the email with the links. Oh my God. Supposedly he didn't get it, so I'm going to have to resend it. So hello, everybody. Rob from Deflating Atheism is having technical issues. I bet it went into his spam folder. You should just check his spam folder. So let me resend. Check your spam folder. So I hope you are having a blessed and happy day. Supposedly, well, nothing happened that we know of other than what's going on in the world already. And let's see. And right now I have to resend this to Deflating Atheism because somehow he lost it. And I don't know why. So you're watching the background. Come on. There we go. There, you should be getting it now. Check your spam folder. If it's not in there, I'm going to give up on you. That's all there is to it. It's either this or nothing. Is it in your spam folder? Okay, good.
You there? Was it there?
Yeah. He's supposed to be more experienced than I am.
I was going to say he's usually first to these things before I am.
I know. And tonight I didn't eat anything today, so I made myself some broccoli and spaghetti. Tossed in olive oil and garlic.
I had spaghetti too.
Yeah, it's like, so I tried to shovel that in as quickly as I could. I didn't want to eat ice cream because milk isn't the best thing to have when you want to talk.
I had to get the ground beef from Walmart, which was kind of meh.
Oh, really? How was that?
Yeah. It wasn't as good as where I usually get it from Safeway, but which is, better and, leaner, but Walmart's, more generic, but it was okay for the substitute.
Yeah, I heard some not good things about Walmart's food. Yeah. Okay, so you didn't put your beauty face on, Deflating Atheism? You didn't want to show your face? I mean, come on here. Am I the only one that's going to show my face?
Maybe show mine.
All right, look at this. Yeah. See, Robert Fried has the guts. Have you got the guts?
Oh, my hair's messy, though.
Oh, that's fine. You've got guts. Oh, okay. All right. Uno, dos, tres.
I was going to hold out until Robert Fried put his cat on screen.
Oh.
No, she's sleeping right now.
Okay.
I mean, he talks about your cat more than anything else.
Yeah.
It's like he's going to marry your cat one day.
Yeah, she's sleeping right now. Well, let me see if I can find her.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, put her on right in front of the microphone. So
I'm so sorry for my lateness, everyone. But yes.
For your tardiness on, what? I can't even get. There's the American flag. I wanted that in full view. That's really important today, the American flag, because today everything bad that happened today was people. I found that people all over just were a little bit more sensitive or really sensitive to each other. Everybody was hurting. It's like it hit the heart of America. That New York City is the beating heart of America. At the same time, when it hit the World Trade Center, people from all over the world work there. So it's like it hit the heart of the world. Like there's no bigger city than New York City. or just a city that offers you so many things in a big city, than New York City, what it once was before it went downhill. But everybody, the good thing that happened, everybody was kinder. People were just more aware of our mortality, and that we kind of came together as a people. I think humanity came together rather than what's going on now. It's like, get away from me. I don't want you to kill me, and you're trying to kill me since you're so close to me, even though you've got your shots. It's just about anger and division. And then it was about, we're all humans, and this hurt all of us. It didn't just hurt America, didn't just hurt New York City. Everybody worked in those buildings, including Muslims.
I was going to say that the attack on 9/11 even earned us sorrow from like countries considered our enemies, like China and Russia. Even they sent condolences to the 9/11 victims.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And for China and Russia, authoritarian states, to do such a thing is amazing. And oh God, we know what it took to divide us. We know the pieces, the chips that were chipped off. It's like little pieces were chipped off of humanity until you got this being. It came down to this being that can either just like hate one side and love the other, or love one side and hate the other. We've devolved as human beings since, but it was just ever so small chips that came off in the past, I say 12 years. I think 12 years, things started to devolve. Of course, Bush got his second term, and there was a splitting going on there. The Democrats, by right, were against the war. First, they were for the war before they were against the war. I voted John Live Shot Kerry. I voted for the war before I voted against the war, and so did Hillary. They realized you were supposed to be against the war now. And then all of a sudden, Bush was the devil. Remember how Bush used to be the devil and the racist?
It was Bush derangement syndrome.
It was Bush. It was really bad. So when that guy left office, he's saying, I better not build a library because somebody's going to blow it up. Because everybody hated him so much. I mean, the Democrats, until Trump came along, they realized where true hate lies. They had their chess pieces in order. And then Bush said, I know how I can change my whole life around. And I'll hate Trump too. And so he did. And even my sister, she goes, well, yeah, we all used to hate Bush, but then we realized he was a great guy. He hates Trump. A PhD actually said this.
And now they love John Bolton and the Cheneys and all those.
Oh my God! I don't know how much they hated the Cheneys and John Bolton. Like, oh my God, let's just see how quickly. I don't know how many years it really took for us to start to break apart after the event on 9/11 happened. And when we came together, humanity came. If China and Russia are sending us condolences, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. That is just amazing. And what happened and how long did it actually take us to get to where we are now, which is not a very good place. And
I would say that not only are we as a country more divided than ever, but even, like I said, these enemy countries that once sent us condolences for being attacked now absolutely despise us. Our relations with those enemy countries like Russia and China are much, much worse now because the polarization has affected the entire world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe what it showed the world, our division and our need to create wars. Bombing Libya for 10 months. until the slave trade started up again. Maybe that's what it is. People, we forget. And the Democrats used to tell us stuff like this. Remember, you used to talk to Democrats and progressives how America is the one that's starting the wars and people are working in slavery in China because America, we're living off their goods. So some people are dying in other countries so we can have our stuff. And now they've somehow forgotten everything. Of course, we know about Benghazi and how that was ignored, unfortunately. And I think the world kind of looked at us as maybe we can't really blame Republicans, or we can't blame Democrats for the war that the Republicans started. And then here the Democrats come in, Obama came in, and there's more wars and there's more death. And maybe the division of the world is because we have shown the world that we go to war for nothing. I mean, in Libya, why did that happen to Libya?
I was going to say that's also what partly ruined our relations with Russia, because Gaddafi's Libya had been a client state of both during the Soviet period and during the Putin government.
And also the nonstop vilification of Russia by the intelligence agencies and the media.
Yeah, I was actually looking at Russian polls, and what's funny is that in the 2000s, Russians, like, majority had a positive view of the United States, but by the end of the 2010s, that almost flips to, like, majority negative because of the media outrage and whatnot surrounding the whole election hacking, supposedly.
Yeah.
But there was no election hacking this time. There was absolutely none. Yeah. This was a clean election. Everything was honest and on the up and up.
Yes.
Okay. Thank God we got that right. It took us 4 years, but we got our elections right and we got rid of Putin. But you know what? Putin has showed us that he's also a friend. He can be a friend to the new administration. Yeah. It's just amazing how things change.
He was carpet bombing America with those Facebook ads. There's just people en masse were just getting brainwashed by these Facebook ads
that I didn't even know existed because I never looked at them.
Yeah, but I will never. Oh, good.
I was just going to say, Robert Fried, when you're not talking, your microphone actually feeds back a little bit.
Yeah, I should.
So Felina sounds like Miss Othbar, but yes.
But I was going to say that I do remember 9/11 even as a little boy, and keep in mind, I was like not even 10 years old at the time, but I do remember it, and
well,
I was living.
That's old enough to remember an event like that.
Yeah, and I remember just thinking how weird it was because I was watching cartoons and my mom was asleep, and suddenly the news came on. I just thought it was so weird, and I woke up my mom, and she was just absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah,
she had actually lived by the Twin Towers when she was younger.
Oh my God! See, let's say it hit when she was young. It hit the heart of America. It hit the heart of the world. And did we really need to go into Afghanistan? Was that a necessary war? What happened? Because I guess it does. The Taliban, we can push the Taliban out and keep it out for 20 years, but it's just going to come right back in. That's the way things are, and it does take a country to be strong and to build up their military forces to protect themselves. Because it was actually very hopeful. I think Afghanistan looked very hopeful because women were able to get educated and go to work, and there was a freeing of the women that usually are subjugated under the kind of law that the Taliban follows. And now, and just like Iraq and Iran, same thing happened. Well, actually, more Iran. Women used to go to work in suits. Not only were they educated, they went to work in suits. And they thought that the Shah was oppressive. And until the Ayatollahs came in and really showed them that you're going to live in a black body bag with slits for the eyes for the rest of your life. And there, Afghanistan, the women were seeing a different way of life. And it doesn't seem to me that the men were against it either. They were more peaceful. They were allowing these changes to happen. And had we trained them better, whatever we failed to do, because I hear that they ran away when the Taliban came in. They dropped their guns and ran away. Unfortunately, this should be the type of a stream that we're remembering what happened, the heroes of the day, how we came together. But what's happening in the world is we've got a whole new war coming on. And now they're more armed than any other country in the world except for us. Things have really flipped on their heads. But the good thing is that the Afghans that are coming into this country, there's measles on the flight. And they are going to quarantine them before they come into America. And I would suggest doing that for anybody that's moving into America. Check them out and quarantine them if they're not well. That's all I'm saying.
I was going to say, why did we go into Afghanistan is a really pertinent question, because Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the 9/11 terror attacks, he was actually in Pakistan the whole time, not Afghanistan. But I think what is really forgotten.
That's right. Isn't it crazy?
What is really forgotten, though, was that part of the reason why we went into that. I think with the Iraq War, people know better that it essentially was a war for oil, essentially, and big business. But with Afghanistan, it's a little harder to pinpoint. There's a good YouTube channel. Keith Woods is his name. He had a good video called "Why Did the U.S. Invade Afghanistan?" And essentially, the reason why we went into Afghanistan after the towers came down on September 11th was because we essentially wanted to secure the poppy fields and the opium fields.
Right. Isn't that crazy? Money. If it's not oil, then it's money. But we didn't take the oil from Iraq. That's the thing that had baffled people, that we didn't take control of the oil fields. I mean, if you went in, you destroyed the country. We left, just like Afghanistan, we left everything there for ISIS to move in and use. But we didn't take the oil. But there was a treaty signed, I'm sure Eisenhower signed it, that if our oil supply is threatened in any way, we go to war for it, because the whole world will stop and countries that are poor won't get food or assistance. It's a big thing. If you're
even Barack Obama said early on in his presidency that whoever leads the world in energy is going to dominate the world.
That's
tomorrow.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. But
can I just? This is my perspective. I guess I was kind of taken in by neoconservatism at the time, but it was fairly clear. I never went in. That's very beautiful. I never went in for the whole weapons of mass destruction. So by the same token, I wasn't really outraged when all the things turned out to be a lie. It was pretty clear to me from the beginning that the whole Iraq mission was basically nation building. And I could understand that. You could certainly debate it philosophically, but I thought, well, if we could make a stable democracy in the Muslim Middle East, that would be a stabilizing force for the entire region. So I was kind of agnostic about that, but I could understand the reasoning. But I never had any illusions that it was really about weapons of mass destruction.
Well, but the problem with that is, though, with the whole nation building and democracy building, is that the U.S. and I think the upper echelons who commanded the war and that kind of idea was they didn't understand the Iraqi culture or the Middle Eastern culture at large. So it's kind of funny, like when George W. Bush went into Iraq and took out the Ba'ath regime, Saddam Hussein's government, it essentially didn't turn Iraq into a little Sweden. It just descended into looting and rioting and destruction.
Yes. Here.
So we should say, well, just a shout out to, Mad Dog came in and he said clank. Did you see Mad Dog wrote clank?
Yeah, that's
I know, it's like Sticks is in here. It would be wonderful if he was, but he's not. I can't seem to get the American flag in.
I'm almost filling the screen here.
I guess so. It's a little too low. So, well, I'll just say hello to Peace.
Yes, hello, Black Samurai.
And Black Samurai and Mad Dog, who says clank. And I'll pass that clank on to Sticks. I'll tell him that Mad Dog says clank. It's a whole new language that Sticks has created, or those that the followers of Sticks have created. We understand it. So let's go through everyone's experience. Robert Fried said his experience already. What was your experience of 9/11 when you heard it?
Not really anything special. I think I got out of bed. I was living at home. I got out of bed and my mom said, "The Twin Towers are gone." I'm like, was there another David Copperfield special or something? I didn't, I had no way of putting that in context. It just said like planes flew into them and they fell. And that's like, when you need a lot of context to understand stuff, I was like, you're just talking nonsense. And I just started watching the TV, and yeah, I think by the time I started watching, both buildings had collapsed, and I guess there was still some uncertainty. Maybe it could have been some sort of a freak accident, but it was pretty clear by that time. I guess it was a terrorist attack.
When you see the second plane,
that's what everyone said.
They were saying this is no accident.
Yeah, it was the second plane because everyone thought that when the first plane it was an accident, most likely, but
which
then
it could have been.
It could have been at the time, but then when the second, it was confirmation that we were under attack.
Yeah. So yeah, I watched it. I just watched it for hours, and it started emotionally wearing on me. It didn't really resonate with me emotionally at first. It was just too big, and then I really got, very emotional as just watching the TV for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, I'm gonna put on the air conditioner. It's really hot in here for some reason, and so I'll be out. I'll be back in 2 seconds flat. So good to see you again, Mad Dog too. Oh, wonderful. Mad Dog is here, and if Mad Dog, we'll just keep saying here and there if anybody wants to come on to tell their experience, tell their story. If you can hear me out there, if you want to come on to tell your story about 9/11 or something you just want to tell the world, tell America, just tell people, whoever happens to watch this video, some message of hope. Just sometimes we feel very scared and isolated and like a prisoner or muted, because we can't say what we're feeling and we have nobody to tell it to. And sometimes that helps just to say it, but it also helps for other people to hear what everybody's going through. And then you realize you're not alone. It's not so scary. You're not alone. Everybody's afraid. So it's like, it's a time when everybody's afraid. the only way to eliminate, to lessen the fear is to connect with each other and to see each other as human beings. We are mortal. We have feelings, and sometimes we forget that there's a whole world out there that's hurting. It's not just us. And when we start connecting with each other, it's very healing. And I think that's how people healed from 9/11 the first time. But then it started to, the Democrats wanted to get their guy in office. And so little by little, Bush became more and more the devil. And the people who voted for the war were all of a sudden, I was against the war. I voted for the war until I was against the war. And all of a sudden, all these Democrats were against the war. And then Obama got in office, and, we're the peaceniks. We're the peaceniks. I'm going to turn not heat on. And so you can tell how hot I am. Oh my God. I mowed the lawn. I didn't finish. And I was just sweating bullets. So I'm going to turn the air conditioning on for a little bit because I'm really hot here. But go ahead and talk and say whatever you need to say.
Yeah, I'm going to say maybe Felina feels differently. I'm starting to see a kind of snowballing national resolve like we saw post 9/11. I'm actually seeing patriotism again. I'm not going to explain too much why. You could probably make your own assumptions. I don't want to get this discussion off track, but I do see really people of all walks of life, even in very blue areas of the country, starting to evince a very sort of red state patriotism.
I don't know. I feel a little different. I feel like we're kind of in what Joseph Tainter calls catabolic collapse. I feel like various peoples, whether you're a red American, blue American, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, they're starting to kind of come together and realizing that they don't really have anything in common with one another. And so I feel like we are slowly starting to kind of break apart as a country. Now, it could take decades before it actually comes apart. And there could even, 100 years from now, there could still be someone claiming to be president of the United States, but it'll be a bit like Charlemagne claiming to be the heir to the Roman Empire. So I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I think there's a sort of concerted effort to sort of change American culture, to change American media very drastically, so that it's nonstop propaganda. But they're doing it in such a time frame that even young people realize that the world of 60 years ago wasn't the world of today. That you could watch movies, you could watch the news, you could share things on social media, and everything wasn't politics.
Well, yeah,
propaganda.
And even the world of the early 2010s or 2000s wasn't the same as it is today.
Yeah. So I mean, you can't. It's not like kids today have never known a world that wasn't that. So I think a lot of people are drawing back on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, how it's gonna. I really don't know. I mean, I just feel like I said, I think we are kind of going through a catabolic collapse, which is in contrast to a catastrophic collapse, sudden collapse. But
yeah, well, that would be the end of the empire. Yeah,
but the Empire Strikes Back. Is that what you're talking about?
It always does.
No, we were kind of talking about, post 9/11, where the direction of post 9/11 America is going. And Rob says that he sees a more kind of emboldened patriotism, whereas I said that I feel like there's more kind of like a catabolic collapse as a result of the fact that neither group of people, whether it's blue Americans, red Americans, blacks, whites, Hispanics, don't really have that much in common with one another and are gradually breaking apart.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, we do. We have a lot in common with each other, And that's why people, different races and different ethnicities, have married into each other and had babies, and we're all a melting pot. What's happened is that we have people larger, bigger voices than we are, have pointed out all our differences and made us focus on these differences and made us think that we don't have much in common when we really do. Everyone out there, if nothing, everyone out there is fighting a hard battle. Everyone is human. Everyone dies. Yeah. Everyone loses loved ones. Everyone is afraid. Humanity experiences all these emotions. And we fall in love with people of different races and different ethnicities. So despite the differences of our language and where we were born, it's just that we've really been made to see our differences, and we're supposed to stay different. And I say stay in these differences by bringing back segregation, which was, big in Jim Crow South, but it was a bad thing, and that's where, in fact, that's one of the walls that Elvis knocked down.
Yeah,
because people teenagers just wanted to enjoy, black and white teenagers wanted to enjoy his music, and they wanted to just have fun, except in certain places in the South, they were absolutely, totally segregated. And that's when teenagers got upset and started to join the civil rights movement, because they just want to go and have fun. They just want to both experience something they both have in common. They both like to hear Elvis. And people then didn't really know that not everybody knew that Elvis was a Melungeon, was mixed race on both sides. Has to be on both sides, by the way, because Jim Crow South, it's against the law for if you're a white person to marry someone who's mixed. So both sides are mixed. So that was I see that's where why did all these young people all of a sudden jump on the bandwagon of desegregation, civil rights? It's because they were tired of this. They were tired of the separation. We have things in common.
Yeah.
And that's what the teenagers realized. We love this music. And then the white singers started to research, the white musicians started to research black music that was foreign to them, like the blues. And then you had the birth of the 60s, which was birthed by people who started to study and listen to. I know that's what I did. I started to, since I got into Janis Joplin, and I started to study jazz and blues, the old jazz. Though my mother had like articles and autographs, and those were her heroes, but I did it on my own because it was, being exposed to this kind of music. And then you go back and then you learn about Bessie Smith and Big Mama Willa Mae Thornton. We all think of Billie Holiday. Most people know Billie Holiday. They don't know Bessie Smith, but more people know Big Mama Willa Mae Thornton. But it was amazing. It's because, see, that's where we can come together. Instead of focusing on our differences, we enjoy. So here's obviously a white girl from Port Arthur, Texas. That's where she came from, Port Arthur, Texas. Born on January 19th. She felt like an outcast. Everybody, all the guys in school thought she was ugly. And so she felt like an outcast. So she went to California and hooked up with the hippies and started singing this music because she got exposed. A bunch of her friends would go and listen to this music. But the door opened for white people to be exposed to this music, and it was Elvis that did it. He really does take a lot of credit for this. And so then you've got somebody, you say you've got somebody like Elvis who's a combination of 3 different races. And you say, how, of course, because of that, Jim Crow South kept his family excessively poor, and poor in ways that we can't even dream of. But you see how people, everybody's on this class, so everybody's marrying into everybody, right? Everybody's on the same lower class. The white Democrats are up here, and then down here are they call them free people of color. And that they married into each other. First, the Melungeons were apart. They were rejected by the Native Americans and the African Americans, or the former slaves. And then all of a sudden, they were called free people of color. And so, just to think that we are that different, it's only the megaphone of people who have the megaphone today that are telling us these differences, and they're bringing back segregation.
Yes.
When you would look back and say, look at what races and ethnicities mixing together did. It produced Elvis and produced the civil rights movement. It produced people coming together, people seeing each other as we're all God's children, no matter where you start. It's the same God that made you, made him too, these men with broken hearts. Those words are not heard today. And it's terribly, terribly unfortunate. So was it a couple of years that we had the coming together, that we realized that we were human beings and that we were all hurting, and we stopped looking at our ethnicities or our religion or our race, and we came together because we realized we had to console each other. And then somebody had the bright idea of not only bringing segregation back, but making people who were segregated in the past want to be segregated, want to be apart, because that group is evil, so you better stay segregated. It's the craziest thing. And the only way we can overcome it is to we just have to come together as human beings, because I know Robert Freed is half Comanche, and he's got tribal status. Yep. And poor deflating atheism here. He's a mixture of Italian and Irish, but he doesn't know how to cook. Not even corned beef and cabbage. He can't do it unless it's in a microwave and he can open up a can. Can't do it.
I'm a bad Goomba. I'm a bad Goomba.
And I'm a crazy mixture myself. If you go to Cajun country, you're going to find people with my surname, because those people were mixed. Everybody with my surname. On my father's side, my mother's side, Southern Italians were considered black in the South. You look at me and say, oh, she's got white privilege. I've only worked minimum wage jobs. What privilege? And because I was told I was supposed to take care of my parents when they got older and sickly. And that was my job. My sister goes to college. There's no white privilege in my life.
I keep telling her to get a Patreon or something. I keep telling her to get a Patreon. It's not my fault.
Well, they give me money because my skin is white. I have my white privilege. I know, but if you look at both sides, people forget that the Italians were considered black. Were black. They were considered half black, which is black in the South.
Yeah, I think the most immediate way, I think, really, for people to understand our shared humanity is through art and music. And so that's what you were saying. Elvis was such a unifier. I'm a guy who thinks that Nat King Cole did more for civil rights than Martin Luther King, because he was on.
It's actually Elvis did. Martin Luther King couldn't have done anything without Elvis, because Elvis got the teenagers together in one place, and they were all enjoying the same music, and they were pissed off that they were forced to be segregated when they just wanted to go listen to music and relax, and they wanted to enjoy. Both of them enjoyed and loved Elvis the same way, and that's what made people, the young people, come together and then start taking. Of course, Martin Luther King in the Springsteen said himself that Elvis came out of the same Memphis as Martin Luther King. You know, so, you know, looking at the mess we have today, there's just so many things that we have alike. What we need to focus on what makes us similar than our differences. Otherwise, yes, we will go to war. Yes, we will hate our neighbor for a stupid reason, color of their skin or their religion or their ethnicity,
or who they voted for,
or who they voted for. You know, like, do you want a peaceful world? I want a peaceful world. I want war to end. I don't want fighting and killing and hating. I hate that. Every human being should hate that. That's how we started off in this world. We don't. It's not emphasized enough that all people of all races started off as tribes fighting one another for land. That's how it started. One tribe felt supremacy over the other tribe. They said, we want that land, we want what they have, and we want to rule over them. And that's what happened. That's what humans did. And humans are still doing that, clearly. And now we're doing that in our neighborhoods. You know, this America is a melting pot. We're supposed to, you know, we can go to restaurants and eat food from all over the world, and it's fantastic. I mean, what a reason! If not for that reason alone, let's stop being so segregated and come together and go eat food. Go eat food and enjoy food from all over the world, you know, and just be appreciative of the people who brought this food to us, who are making this food, and just that. Those are ways we can come together. You know, how many times you go to a Chinese restaurant and there's people of all different races, all different religions, all different ethnicities. They're all eating Chinese food. Or you're in an Italian restaurant and everybody's eating Italian food. And nobody's thinking, oh, this food is from a different ethnicity or a different race of people. You're just enjoying the food. It's like going to the concert and enjoying the music. Just like, stop the segregation. We just want to come here and enjoy it and get to know people that enjoy the same thing that we do. And then we have a coming together because we found similarity. And we have to stop. We have to demand that this is insanity. And we have to stop this. Who's doing this? The people who are doing this want war. They don't want us to come together. They want a supremacy. This group is better than this group. This group is evil. This group is better than these groups, but all these groups are better than these evil people over here. Who's doing that? That's satanic. That is satanic. And America's never. Well, America did.
You know what?
Go ahead.
Satan actually means. It means the divider.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Satan means the divider.
Yeah.
The great divider. That's right. And we know what's going on that's dividing us, and they'll look at us and say, it's you. No, I want peace. I make food from all different countries. I appreciate the people who made this food and brought it, you know, here so I can enjoy it and make it. And then those are just like a simple things that we have in common. Enjoying the same food, you know, figuring out how to make the same food because we love their culture. That's we can enjoy and love all different things from people's culture, even jewelry and fashion and colors and music from different cultures. And it's like there's just so much to enjoy out there. Why are we looking at our divisions? Why?
Well, that's another thing of the resegregationists, is that I think their biggest weapon is, their biggest cudgel is appropriation. Now, as I said, it's art that makes us realize our shared humanity, but they want that to be verboten. They want even the arts to be separate, so we have no way of recognizing our shared humanity. And I was thinking something else. The whole thing with diversity and representation in media, there's sort of an implication there that we won't be able to identify with anyone on TV if they don't look like us. It's like, finally there's someone on TV who looks like me. Well, if you look at Black Americans, like, there are two movie genres that have always been very popular with Black Americans. That's Italian, mobster movies, and Hong Kong action flicks. Would they be better? Would they be liked better if they had Black representation in them? No, that's nonsense. They like them for what they are, and we can realize, we can project ourselves into the movie, even if the characters don't look exactly like us.
Exactly.
I was going to say, one of my most favorite films is a film called Kundun, which is about the Dalai Lama.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm not Tibetan and I'm an Eastern Orthodox Christian, I really love the film because I don't know, I just feel like it has so much contrast, with a spiritual figure going against, this materialist, anti-religious regime, and I just really enjoyed that. So I know how that feels.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And you think the people who are joining on the bandwagon of division would say, wait a second, I like their culture. Just like Jerry Seinfeld said, is it racism if you like their race? Remember, it was about Winona, who was Native American, and was it Jerry that bought a tobacco store wooden figure of an Indian? And he said and she said, you don't understand, Winona is Native American, but is it really racist if I like their race? I mean, it's like, no, it's like we're putting these little stupid rules on things when he wanted to date Winona. She's very attractive.
I'm sorry. I was thinking this is probably 15 years ago or something. There was a Doonesbury cartoon, believe it or not, that made me laugh out loud. And the character was talking about his father, who had fought in the Asian theater in World War II. And he said, yeah, the experience scarred him so badly for life that throughout his life, whenever he saw an Asian man, he would shout racially insensitive things like brainiac or good at math. I'm sorry, it's wrong, but yes, those are slurs to them. But yes, it was a Doonesbury cartoon.
Oh, yeah. So I remember when I was in nursery school, when Thanksgiving came around, we made things. Some people were the pilgrims, and some people had to make our costumes, figure out how to make our costumes to be Native Americans. And I wanted to be a Native American. Of course, that's cultural appropriation.
Yeah, exactly.
So I made my costume, and that's the costume I wanted to make. I mean, it's like I had that affinity towards. That's why my favorite doll in the world, that I used to sleep with, that one doll. I had lots of dolls, lots of white dolls. I had some African American dolls too, but it was my Native American doll, that Lon. She was the one that wherever I went, she was my child. She was my child, and I brought her everywhere. I'm looking at her right now. She's in this room right now. It's like, and I just, when I was a kid, I thought, gee, I just can't wait for people to stop, because I knew about racism. And of course, I saw Roots and the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. And I really felt for what African Americans have suffered in this country, and you were looking forward for this to end. You know, that every artist that was out there was about coming together, loving each other, peace, equality. But we were moving towards that direction, and we couldn't wait. I mean, when I was a kid, my favorite TV show was Sanford and Son. Who didn't love Red Fox? And I was so disappointed when Red Fox went on leave because they weren't paying him enough, and Grady took over. It's like, I like Red Fox. And Red Fox is half Native American, you know. People, that's why he changed his name from Fred Sanford. That was actually his family name, to Red Fox, because his mother was Native American. And he had a red tone. If you look at his skin, you can see that there's a red tone to it. So, you know, and never did we think, you know, Sammy Davis Jr., it's like, wow, that if you go all the way back to when he was a kid and started, when he was tap dancing in musicals and film, and he was singing songs, and the kid was only 4 or 5 years old. And never did I think that we would come to this, that the group of people, there's a group of people that claim that they're not racist, that are causing the division and racism, but that group of people belongs to the same party of segregation that invented Jim Crow South, invented segregation, invented the KKK. And
well, as you yourself said, this is all promulgated by people who have the megaphone. It's all coming through the institutions of power. I think there's a popular revolt already in progress, already in its incipient stages.
Yeah. Let's see. Peace says, Ian Randall's from Australia. Damn, even in Australia, we played cowboys and Indians. Of course, that's cultural appropriation now.
By the way, Peace always gives us great comments. So do you mind if I go up a little here and read some of his comments from 15 minutes ago? He says, with 9/11 came the Patriot Act. With the virus came all of the draconian measures. Acquisition of power seems to come at the expense of human lives. What better to instill fear than death? What better way to fear than to bully people? What better than fear to bully people into relinquishing their liberties? Nothing new under the sun. Yeah, so we have these epidemics that scare people. If it's a disease, if it's supposedly this you know, there's an epidemic that everyone's just becoming horribly bigoted, and all these bigoted people are marching down the street. It's a delusion. Just like you know, overflowing hospitals is a delusion. It's not actually happening. But they use this, and all it takes, oh wow, there's some minor threat here. Here, take my liberties. Look at all the liberals who not 5 years ago were crying havoc about Big Pharma. Now they want to give Big Pharma the biggest Christmas present they can possibly get.
That's right. Eternal booster shots.
Yes. So yeah, all you need is to gin up a little fear, and people say, "Here, take my civil rights."
You see how it's being, you know, this is how countries fall to despotism. And
we could name a guy with a funny mustache who
that's right. This is how, you know, and unfortunately,
actually two guys.
Australia is like building concentration camps.
Yes. Oh, it's for your own good. It's for
and then they shot the puppies in the shelter because they didn't want anybody to come for them. Why don't you just let them go home with the people who work at the shelter?
Yeah.
It's that, to me, when you do stuff like that, you're putting fear into people. You're doing horrific things. And there's no hope and no freedom. And I'm very surprised that the Queen hasn't said a damn thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know she's got her troubles with her grandchildren, but you know what? If I were her, I'd say, you know what? I don't have time for you. I just lost my husband. Australia is being turned into a Nazi concentration camp. I have to go talk to them and put them in order. As far as you two go, stay in Hollywood, get famous as much as you want. We don't need it. We don't need it. It's just get to that point where you just have to cut ties. And then if you put them on the defensive, they have to now, then they'll want to come back. Who wants them back? Oh my God.
I would be careful too, because what some people in my circles are saying about Australia is that it could be a trial run for what the elites plan to do in the rest of the Western world in this winter. So I'd be very careful if you're in a city that you don't think you can you think it's going to impose lockdown. I'd probably start thinking about getting out.
Uh-huh. Well, what was Canada had detention centers earlier than Australia? I mean, wouldn't they have been the blueprint?
Yeah, they were kind of doing that, but it's still like Adrian can't leave.
Yeah.
I mean, if he could leave, he said, "Oh, I'd be down there." If he could leave, but he can't leave. Ian Randall says the Queen has just endorsed BLM. She has done a Biden. She's senile. People are saying, though, that you can trick. It's very easy to trick people to say that you support BLM if you ask them the question, do Black Lives Matter to you? Of course, absolutely, but not. She knows the organization has caused violence in England as well as America.
You got to consider she is getting very old. I mean,
she's pretty sharp, though. You'd think, Ian saying, yes, she's maybe getting senile, but I don't see any signs of senility in her. But if you are having a discussion with her and she, if you asked her, of course she's going to say Black Lives Matter. She's the British monarchy has always supported, they've got the Commonwealth countries, and they left South Africa when it was taken over by white people. And then when apartheid fell, they were welcomed back in because they were against the apartheid. And Queen Victoria, she had a Muslim from India that worked for her, and he brought his family up, and the people who worked for her didn't like them, and she called them all racist. And once one of the brother of the guy who, I forget his name, who took care of her, was taking care of her, did take something like a piece of jewelry, and they said, "Look, he's stolen something." And she says, "Oh no, in their country, when they find things, this is their custom." And she completely just quashed the whole idea because she felt that they were being racist. So, I don't know, as far as the Queen, you've got Markle there, who, because she's not her mother's biracial. She's a quarter Black, and because of that, she's got this pressure on her, and people forget the history of the British monarchy. They forget, at least in the past 2 centuries, that they weren't racist. And if you study, their goings on and where they visited, how they treated people, Nelson Mandela was the only man, and there's another African leader. Only 2 in the world that could call her by her first name, Elizabeth, and she allowed it. That they really, we think, oh, they must because they're part German and they're English, they must be racist, but they're not. And so there's all this pressure on them to try to show the world that they're not racist. And it's kind of like at this point, why aren't we coming together? She gave Harry and Meghan a $40 million wedding. $40 million they paid for, and they even removed the homeless people off the streets so they could, people had room to watch the parade.
True.
And it's like, so basically, you threw English citizens who are homeless, you threw them in the ditch, and you gave a $40 million wedding to a girl who is more biracial. It's like, no, it's like, it's ridiculous to call her racist. But I think I've been listening to people who are from England talk about that, and they think that that's what happened because the pressure on, if anybody came up to any of us and said, do you believe that Black Lives Matter? We'd say, yes, of course we believe that Black Lives Matter.
There's such a social stigma for any sort of hesitancy to endorse. If we could debate the pros and cons. No, they're coming for you. If you even admit any sort of gray area,
Well, it was, fun fact 41 of the first 42 presidents of the United States were descendants of King John I. Yes, that's true. Yeah, I know that. And Charlemagne too. They say everybody's connected to Charlemagne. Which is Charlemagne? It's Charles in French. His name was actually Charles.
The founder of the Holy Roman Empire.
Yeah. So
Peace made a good point. He says Australia basically reverted to what it was initially, a penal colony.
Yeah, that's right.
I said that to a friend on Facebook, was that what started as a penal colony is ending as a penal colony.
And nobody's really done anything wrong. What have they done wrong? But it's really, you hear that you've shot puppies. A new mother dog in the shelter had puppies for the first time, and they shot them. They didn't even euthanize them. They shot them. That's to put fear into the populace. That's like, you better do what we tell you. Because there's no reason in this day and age and the humanity we've moved towards the love of animals and and that we have realized how much animals do suffer, that to do something like that, it's really very fascistic.
Yeah, it reminds me of those the warning signs that a child is going to grow up to be a serial killer. And one of
That's
them
right.
is torturing.
That's right. If they're and they say, oh, it's just an animal. No, if they're cruel to animals, they're more likely to grow up to be a serial killer. And that's what that Nicholas Cruz did. He used to torture animals for long periods of time in horrendous ways before he killed them, before they died. But his mother was a drug addict, and her 2 children were born she was taking loads of drugs. In fact, the second one, she was in prison. And the person who adopted Nicholas Cruz, she was 50, so she couldn't get the pick of the litter, literally, of kids. They said that you can't buy a kid in this country, but you can pay for the mother's expenses. And so that's how she got Nicholas. But the mother was taking loads of drugs, so his brain and his brother's brain completely shot. But that's what he did. He was his aunt said she would watch him. That's what she was telling the FBI. Please do something. He's been torturing little animals for years, since he was a little kid. And when he was 5, he threw the next door neighbor's infant into the pool. It's like, ugh. That's why drugs are bad. Stay away from drugs, kids.
You know, I was going to say we're hitting all the buttons. We got Elvis, we got the Queen, we got Harry and Meghan. We just needed drugs. We just needed drugs to hit all of Felina's favorite topics.
But you know, as I've said before, we'll just go back to Elvis for a second. I said before, because this is really strange. This is really odd. He decided he was going to go see the president because he wanted to get a badge, be official officer, to drug officer, whatever they call it. You know, what do you call it? There's a word for it. The kind of when they investigate and they get people who are on drugs, put them in jail, stop the drug trade. What do you call that officer?
DEA officer?
No. Well, I think it's the narcotics division of the FBI, probably.
A narc.
Well, he said he was concerned about the hippies taking all these drugs and that it's going to ruin America. And of course, the Marxism, the hippies and the Marxism. So Elvis decides to get on the plane, and he didn't fly his own plane because he was flying into Washington, D.C. And he said, I want to give the president the best gift I have. So he had Patton's gun that he used on D-Day framed. This is the best. This is a gift that the president is going to love. This is the best gift I can give him. So then he also took about 5 or 6 of his own guns with him. And he was wearing a purple velvet outfit with a purple velvet cape. And his what do you call it?
Glasses.
Elvis glasses. Oh, they're over there, my Elvis glasses. And his Elvis glasses. And when he gets to get on the plane, you know, you have to if you've got anything that you're traveling with. So he put all his guns down. And the guys look at his guns and they look at him and then say, that's all right, Mr. Presley. You can keep your guns with you. He's going to see the president, and he's got like, including the frame gun, at least 7 guns, including the frame gun. This is how much they trusted Elvis.
Yeah.
And it's like incredible. So when I think of what happened on 9/11, if Elvis was on that plane and they said, you know what, we trust Elvis, you can take your guns, it would never have, one of those planes would have never gone down. I'll tell you that right now.
Work on your fan fiction. You should work on the Elvis fan fiction of him stopping 9/11. That would.
But he would have. He would. He was so patriotic. I mean, his great grandfather was in the Revolutionary War. That's why he was so patriotic. But yeah, of course he would have. If these people are going to hijack the plane and fly it into buildings or the Pentagon or the Capitol, of course he would have given all the Memphis, everybody's got a gun. That's it. Stop these guys. That's it. He would have done it. No doubt about it, because he knew he was going to save. It wouldn't be about saving his life. It would be about saving everyone else's life. That's the kind of person he was.
It's kind of interesting. I was just thinking, 9/11 was really at the very beginning, I would say, maybe the first 3 or 4 years of the true cell phone era. So that's how the people who...
That's right. You're right. You're right.
Pennsylvania flight, that's how they knew about
93.
It. Yeah, if it had happened 5 years earlier or something, that they would have had no way of knowing.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew a woman that belonged to our church. She's the one who, her father taught Amelia Earhart how to drive a car. And Amelia Earhart, after she left college, she would still write him and send him photographs and all that stuff because she really liked him. He's a really nice guy. And you know what? I forgot where I was getting at there.
The
story. Go ahead. Yeah, cell phones. Wait. So, oh yes, her nephew was the pilot on that flight. Charlebois. Last name is Charlebois, And he came out as gay, and he was married. He was a very, very nice guy, very good man, young man. And I remember her having a picture of him up, and never letting anyone forget about his what happened to him. And that was very moving because he was really a young, attractive. He was very young. He was very attractive, very intelligent, and I mean, it's amazing.
Perfect guy. They're always gay. I'm sorry,
but it just the fact that if you are a family member, or if you had someone as a friend that died, it's what a horrific thing to hear. I mean, what a way to die. It isn't like it's a car accident. You know what I mean? It's just there's so many ways, or a heart attack. There's so many ways human beings can die. But this was such a horrific way, to die. And can you imagine what just people who knew people, just even knowing a friend that died in the attack, not just some people don't have a family member that died. I knew people that had friends that died in the attack. And it was kind of like they would have their picture up, kind of almost like a little makeshift shrine in a way, because they died in such a horrific way. And we usually don't see this when people die of a heart attack or driving in an accident or some kind of illness. We usually don't have this, the way people were affected by the people that died in that attack. And I know there's questions who, did Bush know? I always thought, because of the way he was informed, he was sitting on a kiddie chair, he was reading a storybook, and somebody came in and whispered it into his ear, and his eyes got all big. It's hard. I don't know. I really can't. I said, oh, for sure, there's no way he knew. But wasn't that the perfect photo op? I mean, it's like, or sometimes you see FDR knew about Pearl Harbor. It was going to happen, and he should have gotten the guys out, but he didn't. It's because he promised the mothers of America, you vote for me, and I will make sure that not one drop of American blood is shed on foreign soil. So the story, I have a cousin who was in the Peace Corps when it started, and he was the head of, I think it was Murray College, professor, and you couldn't get any more Democrat than him and his brother. You couldn't get any more Democrat, actually, and his father, that family, you couldn't get any more. But he is the one who told me that, yes, that FDR knew it was going to happen and he didn't stop it. It's because he had to have an excuse to get into the war. Because if we didn't get into the war, then Hitler and the Japanese, forget the Japanese, were also fighting the Japanese Empire. And they did tortures especially to American soldiers, that I won't even repeat. It's so horrible that it in comparison to what the Nazis did, you say, well, the Nazis were the worst. Well, wait till you hear what the Japanese did. Really, really bad. Now Japan is our friends. Then again, I kind of don't know if anybody's going to be our friends because of what just happened recently. But if we didn't get in that war, then but it did get the mothers out and working, and it changed the family dynamic. My mother said that this country started to go downhill when the mothers left home, left their children to go to work. And it was that war that did it. Before that, the mother was home. Kids get sick at school. They come home, they have their mother there. What it did was it destroyed the family unit. And was that designed? Was that designed? I mean, he let the Depression go on for so long that it made people dependent on the government when the government started offering you jobs and offering you food. And so the former slaves and descendants of slaves moved from the Republican Party to the Democrat Party. That's when it happened. It's because he let the Depression go on so long. It's like this thing is going on so long, right? That we're suffering so much that we almost will agree to anything. Just stop this, free us. And that tactic was used back then, like anything. And so people moved to even poor whites moved to the Democrat Party because the Democrats were for the poor people because they gave you jobs when there was a depression, after they let the depression go on for as long as it did. And see, people don't know the history and how things change and why people think the Democrats are the party of the poor people. That's when it happened, not in the 60s. That's when it happened. So we needed to get into the war, but at the same time, it destroyed the family. And was that by the design? And it's a very fascistic communist thing, is because they're not into family units. They aren't into people being individual human beings, worthy of more than just being a cell in the state. It's working for the state, and the cell is sick. You let it die. First thing the fascists did was kill the disabled people. And so the idea of socialism, which is a type of socialism. Oh, socialism will be great. We'll be taking care of all the people who are sick. Well, they kind of so did Stalin, Russia, communism. You got rid of them. What?
He took care of them. Quotation marks.
He did. People don't realize that. See, that's why they had this great this system. Is because when you get rid of the disabled and the elderly people who can't stand in the bread lines. They can't get food. They die off. It just happens. You don't even have to send them to the gulag. See how and that's what people today who are Marxists do not know. This is how, oh yeah, everybody's going to get free healthcare. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
We have politicians who praised Cuba for their free education and free healthcare.
Oh, their healthcare. Well, their healthcare was the school, after the kids got out of school, learning all about how great Fidel Castro is. Then the school turns into a doctor's office. So the doctor, the chalkboards and all this stuff, and you're going in there and nothing is sanitary. And when Fidel Castro got sick, he went to France. He had French doctors flown into Cuba. First he went to, and then when he got too sick, he had them flown into Cuba. Yeah, that's how great the Cuba's healthcare system was. That's how great communism. Well, you say, you know what? You could say there's a feather in John F. Kennedy's cap. There's a feather. All the bad stuff that we've heard about the Kennedys, they were very American. They were very patriotic, and they said a rising tide lifts all boats. And so they believe if America's strong, we can help other people. We can help these countries if we're strong. If we're weak, we can't do it. So the John F. Kennedy today they would hate him. They would absolutely hate and the Democrat Party they've gained so much momentum off the Kennedy legacy. You know what I mean? And Kennedy himself would be against all this because he was incredibly patriotic. I mean, with all we know his faults. We do know his faults, and we know Martin Luther King's faults. They both had faults in those directions. But if you keep going back in time, you're going to find leader after leader and king after king and prince after prince that had the same faults. We're not complaining about them. We just have realized that it's not the best way to go about, keeping a family together. You know what I mean? Go ahead. You're going to say something there, Rob. You're muted. You're muted.
People have done exposés about Gandhi and Lincoln. And it's like, well, yeah, you could find dirt about pretty much anyone,
Gandhi and Lincoln?
Yes.
Well, because Lincoln, they think he might have been gay. He might have been. He might have been gay. And so what? You know what I mean? He freed the slaves. And he was martyred for it. He was killed by a guy who was from the South, who was a Democrat. I know that we're not going to put the label on all Democrats because we know they're good people, but there's some bad eggs in the bunch. And he was one of the bad eggs. But most Democrats are good. We're just going to say that. And we're going to make sure that people know that. Because we know what? Because we don't paint everyone with the same brush. And there's a lot of Democrats who actually think, who agree and love America. And they don't know what's happening to the country either.
Yeah. Hashtag not all Democrats. Yeah, I think that there are a lot of blue dog Democrats who probably come from places in the Midwest where their parents voted Democrat and their grandparents voted Democrat. They still think that they're part of an all party that believes in America. They haven't gotten the message yet.
Yeah, because they think back of the great Democrat leaders. Truman, when he dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That apparently ended the war and it saved millions and millions of lives.
Even Kennedy, when he launched the Bay of Pigs invasion into Cuba.
Yeah. That didn't end up because he didn't want communism. Because there were Russian boats. Was it Russian U-boats off our coastline because of Cuba?
Yeah, well, what happened is that you had the Cuban Revolution in 1959, and then he invited Soviet advisors into the country and military bases there, and that's what caused the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Bay of Pigs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Che Guevara. They got him on murals all over the place. The guy who came in and killed all the homosexuals. Fidel Castro hated the black people and the homosexuals. That's why the prisons are filled with Cuban black people. And, these people in our country, they don't know the truth. It's like, stop. These people did not like, you belong to the wrong part. They did not like homosexuals and they did not like black people. And Che Guevara eliminated all the homosexuals. Most people don't even know that. Mm-hmm. Colin Kaepernick, trade in your socks, your Fidel Castro socks, and your Che Guevara t-shirt. Trade it in now. It's funny that there's this show on PBS, and I forget the guy. I keep forgetting his name. The guy who was the host of the show, and it was about finding your roots. And it was the African Americans specifically, because the Africans in Africa don't have the mix of, white in them. Some do actually, because some people moved out of Africa and moved back in. That's why you'll find some Africans will have some Neanderthal in them, but it's only like 0 to 4%. It's like such a small amount, it doesn't even matter. People don't realize that. So there was a lot of African Americans who thought that they were Native American. And because they looked back at pictures of their family and they had straight, long black hair. And he said, and Tina Turner, we were talking about Tina Turner today. deflating atheism. We were talking about Tina Turner today, weren't we?
Oh yeah,
yes. Yeah. Well, Tina Turner had said all her life that she was part Cherokee. It's interesting. After Elvis came out as, having enough Cherokee in his blood to have full tribal, recognition. It's something I've heard recently about that whole tribal recognition thing. Is because they wanted to know who was a Native American so they could put him on the reservation. It was not an honor to oh yeah, you've got enough Native American, you got a lot of, so you're Native American, oh that's great. No, the US government wanted to know who had X amount of Native American in there to put him on the reservation. So she thought that she had Cherokee in her. She told everybody that her whole life. And so this particular was on PBS, and they did the DNA tests they made specifically to find African roots, to zero in on that. And they found that most African Americans who thought that they were mixed with Native Americans weren't. It was white. The reason why they had straight black hair, they were white. So Tina Turner doesn't have any Cherokee in her at all, because Native American tribe they did take. And I'm nothing against Robert Freed. It's not his fault. There were tribes that did take African Americans as slaves, but it's not Robert Freed's fault. No. Please don't blame him. He has nothing to do with that. His hands
I'm Comanche, so we didn't really have slaves.
Yeah, that's right. You did. And the Mexican government wanted to get rid of the Comanches. That's why they invited Americans to move to Texas, become Mexican, become Catholic, keep it frontier land, and kill the Comanches. Get them off their land. And it's
the Comanches were, we fought pretty much everyone to a standstill. All the other tribes, all the other Native American tribes, the Mexicans and the Anglo-Americans. So
yeah, it's I think the funny thing is that, or the interesting thing is, so we say, Mexicans, they're part Native American, but you see, it doesn't matter. People still making a difference. Tribes see people from the other tribe because they went to war with each other as different. You felt your tribe was better. The Mexicans thought that they were better than the Comanches. They didn't see the Comanches as, they're also Native people. Mm-hmm. And today we have this mentality. So justice warriors have all this mentality that, you've got Native American. Well, clearly you're all peaceful with all the tribes. Nobody fought anybody.
Same thing with Africans. Yes.
Yeah, and you're Mexican. Well, you're part Native American. Clearly, you're for all Native. No, look back in the history. It's like when I studied that, I was really shocked. I'm going, you know what? People are really wrong about this. Yeah. Mexico just took down the Columbus statue and put up a Native American woman. So they're getting woke. But South America, they celebrate Spanish Conquistador Day and Columbus Day because it's when their people came. They wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be alive if the Spaniards and the Portuguese didn't move to South America. People don't realize that. But Mexico just got woke, I guess.
They also decriminalized abortion.
Oh, yeah. In Mexico. God.
Yeah, and what's funny is that I think there was a tower shortly after their Supreme Court decriminalized abortion. There was like a rainstorm and one of the Mexico City's towers literally got struck by lightning. It was
really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because
mad.
Yeah, we have this idea that Mexicans are they're all Catholics, they're all religious people.
No, Mexico has been Mexico actually has a huge history of secularism and atheism, and lately since the 90s Catholicism in Mexico has been declining.
Yeah.
And they believe in this the goddess or god of death.
Oh, I know.
Santa Muerte.
Santa Muerte, yeah.
Just
That's a syncretic religion that does kind of combine like pre-Columbian Native American religions with some Catholic imagery.
Yeah, and that's what they're teaching the kids in California. They're teaching the kids to sing songs to these gods that the Aztecs sacrificed people to.
So much for that humanistic atheism that Richard Dawkins thought was going to take over once Christianity declined.
It's so twisted. It was like, wait a second. They went to war to get more victims to sacrifice. They sacrificed 5,000 to 6,000 people a day. But God forbid the Spanish conquistadors came over. They were so much worse. There was a
But yeah, I just think it's funny because like the new atheists thought that once Christianity declined, that we would just enter into this era of rationalism and scientific discourse. And look at where we're at now. We're worshiping human sacrifice gods.
Yeah, it's so twisted. I'm saying that there's something that has come into the world, and I was discussing this with Deflating Atheism, that I'm pretty sure that this world is, because if anybody out there might not know this, but the Catholic Church, starting maybe when Obama was in office, I'm trying to think back when I first heard the news. I'm not saying Obama.
Correlation is not causation.
Yeah, right. That's right. I'm saying about that time that they are. There's a demand for exorcisms have gone through the roof. I mean, priests because there's priests that specialize in exorcism, and apparently they can't open up enough classes. They can't teach enough priests to. It's just the demand for exorcising demons has gone through the roof, and that kind of makes sense, because why would a teacher teach their little children to sing songs to Aztec gods that sacrificed? They cut their hearts out alive, or they flayed them alive. Either they took the skin off of them in one piece and then they wore the skin. That was very, very clever of them to do. But they have a god that does that wears human skin. And then after they take the heart out, they take a bite out of it. The priest takes a bite out of it, and it's still beating. And then they cannibalize the bodies. And so these Californian teachers are, so it's terrible that Christianity came over here. It's awful that these poor gods can't have their blood sacrifices anymore. 5,000 to 6,000 a day.
Metal, it sounds pretty metal.
You're like, this is totally upside down. It's like, I was watching a channel that specializes in, like architecture from Egypt and South America and all that stuff. And I won't say who said it. And I left him. I left him a message saying, I left a comment saying, you got to be careful what you say. He said that the Spanish conquistadors cheered on when the bishops and priests cheered on when the Spanish conquistadors tortured the indigenous people. But what actually happened was the missionaries, because there were missionaries that went to South America, they're the ones that reported to the Pope and told the Pope what the Spanish conquistadors and the Portuguese were doing to the native people. And the Pope, I think it was Pope Innocent, one of the innocents. There's innocent 1, innocent 2, innocent 3, innocent 4. He put out an official decree that said to the conquistadors, these people are children of God. and you must treat them as Christ would treat them. So no, it's not true. It was the missionaries that told on these people that were hurting the indigenous people. So it's like people, it's the thing that bothers me is that lies get repeated or they get assumed that the Catholic Church is cheering this on or the missionaries are cheering torture on. And that's not true. So if we only go back to the original gods that these people worshipped, it'd be a better world. Mm-hmm. There'd be much less people because the population is too high and they want population to lower. So I suppose if you brought these gods back and human sacrifice back, there you go. You've solved your problem.
That's what I always said is that wokeism is the most parochial and Eurocentric worldview there is, because you're only seeing things through the lens of what you're familiar with in your own European, white European.
Well, I've said before that, like, if you go to Mongolia and you expect like Mongolians to feel sorry for like what Genghis Khan did, wiping out like half of Eurasia and spreading the Black Death, you will, even your average Mongolian woman would probably rip your head off.
Yeah.
But they say that Moose, he had sex with so many women that they did a study, and they found that like out of 6 men, 4 of them had Genghis Khan DNA in them. Because he just had sex with so many women because he was just, he was a conqueror. And so the guy who's the strongest gets the most women and makes the most children, which is kind of wild. But I know this.
Even he can get through Afghanistan.
Well, Rob, you were going to find some heroic stories of 9/11. Did you find any?
I suggested that, but I went out to a festival today.
Oh, you went to a festival. Well, it's good that I looked them up. I figured you would do it. You said you were going to do it. I counted on you to do it, but anyway, K9/11, the heroic stories of rescue dogs and their lasting impact 20 years later. There you go, Australia. These dogs saved people's lives, and you're shooting them. You can't get anything better than a dog. You just can't. I know you'll say, cats aren't going to go in and sniff people out under rubble and say, there's a human here. Get them off, take the rubble off of them and save their life. That's not a cat's job. It just isn't a cat's job. Dogs do the work. Nashville, Tennessee, as we reflect 20 years after America was attacked on September 11, Fox 17 News is honoring the 4-legged heroes who worked tirelessly at Ground Zero in the days that followed. An estimated 300 dogs assisted in search and rescue efforts after the attacks. That's according to 9/11 Memorial and Museum and the American Kennel Club. We got this picture of this dog. He's like raised, like pulleys, lines and pulleys. Many of the working dogs spent hours alongside handlers, sniffing through rubble in hopes of finding survivors. Reports suggest most of the dogs only sustained minor injuries during their efforts, mainly cuts and scrapes to their paw pads. Isn't that amazing? Let's hear it for the dogs. But the most worrisome problem for the pups wasn't their cuts and scrapes. It was the draining task of not finding anyone alive. which became taxing to the dogs, both physically and emotionally. That's amazing what I just read. The pups were affected that they weren't finding anyone alive. That it just says a lot about it says amazing things about the closest dogs are to humans, and they can feel our emotions. I know, owning dogs, that my mother was afraid to pet dogs, and my Aunt Ann was afraid to pet dogs. And I got Chocho, which is Shih Tzu, and something about him made people who were afraid of dogs love him. And they, all of a sudden, my mother said, I sat in a chair, wasn't even crying, but I was feeling so sad. And Chocho came and jumped up on the chair next to me and snuggled next to me. And then my Aunt Ann said that, I was here all alone. I was afraid of the thunderstorm. And Chocho came over and he sat right next to me as close as he could get. And he was calming me. And my Aunt Ann absolutely, these people absolutely would not touch a dog, were afraid of dogs, couldn't stand dogs. And their ability to feel emotion, they know what human beings are feeling. And in their little way, in his little way, he made these people who are afraid of dogs fall in love with him. And you could see that these dogs became physically and emotionally hurt because they couldn't find humans that were alive. And you think, oh, they're just animals. Oh, it's so good that Australia shot all those puppies. It's like, they're not just animals. Aren't just animals. They've got. There's a study many years ago, when I was a kid. My mother read to me, and they did the study in England, and they said that there's all these different traits that mean or mark that you have a soul. If you check off all these boxes, and they determined the dogs had a soul because they had all these specific traits. To boost their spirits and confidence, canine handlers would perform mock fines so the dogs could feel successful. So they had mock fines. They had to do that so the dogs could feel that they had saved a living human being's life, because they were getting so depressed that they were finding just dead people. They had to do this because they are so close in Tibet. I brought Chocho up to, I worked for a Tibetan store for a short time, and I bought Chocho up there. And Chocho is a Shih Tzu, but the Shih Tzus were originally Lhasa Apsos, and they were brought from Tibet to the Emperor of China, and nobody could own them but the nobility. And that's why when communism hit, they took litters of puppies and Shih Tzus and threw them in bonfires because they hated the emperor so much. But goody for them, they were going to get communism. So they looked at Chocho, and he's bigger than your normal size Shih Tzu, so he really looked more like he could be a Lhasa. And
by the way, you're feeding back Robert Fried.
No.
So they just went all to pieces over Chocho. And they said, oh, Chocho, that means noodle, big flat noodle in Tibetan. It means butterfly in Japanese. Of course, he's not a Japanese dog. And they just loved him. And they said to me that in Tibet, we believe that dogs are so close to humans that in the next life, dogs become humans. So they looked at dogs differently than cats because of the empathy, the sorrow, and they're so close to looking at their master listening and wanting to please their master. That's
cats do none of that. Cats do none
well,
of that.
It's like, this is what you can go and you can go argue with the Tibetans or argue with peace, because his name is in Tibetan. But this is what the Tibetans believe after observation of a dog. They believe that they will become humans in the next life because they're so close to humans because of their emotions. And that's just to the fact that they had to pretend and do mock finds so the dogs could feel successful because they were getting depressed. They were only finding dead bodies. I mean, and you have to ask yourself, we have to stop looking at animals as being lesser than we are, that we're better, because we're not. We're not. We're making a mess of this world. We hate each other. But in general, there's just more and more hate in the world, more and more wars. And we're not better than animals are. We just are not, because of the way we act and what we do and our capacity for hate. I mean, a great deal of us have a capacity for love. We do. But it seems like hate is winning the war, and would explain all those exorcists that the Catholic Church is training. They've never seen so many, the need for exorcists to go through the roof, because it means demons are running the planet. That's in the Catholic Church. That's what it means. I mean, say what you will about that. But
and you also see a lot of nakedly satanic imagery in culture these days. Like, there was a Converse ad, and it's like, you just look at it like, this is not okay.
And Lil Nas X stuff too.
What's that?
Lil Nas X, he did this music video that was like just blatantly glorifying Satan.
Yeah, I don't even bother watching that crap.
I don't either. Yeah.
Of course, we got the Governor Northam Leghorn, who I don't know which one I am. I don't know if I'm the one in blackface or the one in the KKK outfit. And he's the one who put the campaign ad against the Republican. And in the ad, it was a white guy driving a truck that had MAGA stickers on the car. And you saw a bunch of diverse children, black, little girl in a hijab, Mexican child. And he hits the gas and he goes to run them over. And the little Muslim girl in the hijab wakes up in the middle of the night because she just had this dream about this MAGA guy, white guy, in a truck that went to run them over.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the campaign ad that the Democrat Governor Northam Leghorn put out. And then we find, I don't know if I would, I'll put shoe polish on my face. I dressed up in Michael Jackson once. And I don't know if I'm the KKK member or the guy with blackface. I don't know.
You've done it so many times.
That's not even high school. It was his medical, his yearbook for his medical degree. He's a doctor. This is the guy who put out the ad to paint Trump supporters as racist.
Mm-hmm.
Upside down world. And they're okay with it. And then, the attorney general, what? I use shoe polish on my face too. Oh, okay. And then the lieutenant governor has at least 2 reports of sexual assault on women. And these women called the cops, not like 10 years later, called the cops immediately, reported it immediately. He's still in office. But he has a D after his name.
Exactly.
See, they all have D's after their name. The world is, so you wonder, wait a second. I thought blackface and the KKK were bad. I thought this. And so he's the one who got elected, and he's the one, well, the baby, well, you know what we're going to do here? You put the baby on the tray. You leave the baby on steel tray. You don't pop them on the behind to get the mucus so they can breathe. So and then the doctor and the mom are going to go in the corner and have a little chit chat. If the little baby is going to live or die. That's what he was saying. That's what he said on the radio show. That the mother and the doctor were going to go have a little chit chat, have a little talk, and she was going to decide whether that baby that is no longer a part of her, that's lying on the tray, that needs its airways cleared, is going to live or die. The baby is no longer a part of your body. Let it go. Let the baby, who cares what happens, but you walk out, you sign papers that you don't have anything to do with this kid. You don't want this kid to come back and see you. You want to be completely anonymous. That's not okay. It's because they want the whole body, maybe to save other babies. Or, of course, we know they're mixing the DNA with mice.
I had to look up.
Go ahead.
I had to look up the Babylon Bee article. It says the headline says Kamala says Biden will be kept comfortable while a discussion will ensue.
Kept comfortable for what?
It's Babylon Bee. It's a satire.
Oh, I know. They stole my idea. Yes, I know the Babylon.
They always steal your ideas.
Yes, they do.
Kamala says Biden will be kept comfortable while a discussion ensues. Yes.
Oh, we see. Oh, I get it. Oh my God, that's terrible. Oh, but it's like, who's running the show? Who's running the show?
P says, in the last days, the love of many will wax cold. True indeed. Not the love of everyone, but the love of many.
It's absolutely, it's like we're all three of us here are people of faith. I mean, we believe in a God. We believe that there's repercussions for our actions. We all of us here want peace in the world. I mean, somehow it doesn't make any sense to me that those who truly want peace and unity and equality, like to see what we have in common rather than just our differences we can learn from. Oh, you make that kind of food. I make this kind of food. Here's the recipe. We can share in each other's culture. What we don't have in common, we can share, because there's a lot of good things in everybody's culture. There's something that's good. But it's like those that are winning are the ones who want war and division. And we don't want war and division. And if the child is born, and say, well, if the fetus is inviolable, people have said this to me. The child is on the tray, is already split from the mother. The fetus is viable. It's lying on that tray. It just needs its airwaves cleared. That we've gotten to this point that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It does everything that's happening. It just it doesn't shock us. How can it possibly shock us?
What's the Satanists' number one social issue? What's pretty much the only?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, but they don't believe in Satan. All right, then you're atheist. Why do you call yourself Satanist? Just say you're atheist. But they
do that because they think they're trolls. It's
that scare us.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anton LaVey was a pioneer that he founded the Church of Satan, and he claimed that he was just being an edgy atheist, but he was trying to troll Christians back in the 60s.
Oh. Gee, my screen just went black and blue. I don't know if I can I finished reading this article about the dogs. But you still see and hear me, right?
Yeah, you look as gorgeous as ever.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. That was the right answer. Bing, bing, bing. Correct answer.
Hey, Rob, did you read articles about 9/11 heroes? Sorry, yeah.
It could be that my computer, it's 21 years old. 21 years old. How can I expect?
It could drink.
What can I expect, really?
Your computer is from before 9/11. You're doing a 9/11 broadcast about a computer that was made before 9/11.
That's right, 2000.
Yes.
That's amazing. So I have no idea what's going on. It's still blue. And I click on it.
Well, just get through this live stream because you're coming through fine.
I'm coming through fine. Okay. Well, too bad. I should have sent you that link so you can finish reading the article about the dogs and the effect that the dogs had, you know, not finding people. And see, it's thank God. Oh, you really, you can't expect a cat to do that. I mean, if you're like, meow, 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 get me off of this rock. Meow.
They would walk towards it and get distracted. Yeah,
That's right.
Is it the New York Times? I don't want to click on the New York Times. I want to give them my half a penny.
Or I can't believe that usually it will go blue, but then it will come back again. And it's not. And I'm actually trying to get it like to log off and log on again. So I figure you guys can talk to yourselves. But I suppose since I don't have, if you can find the article, just Google 9/11 heroes, and the article should come up, and it's about the dogs stuff. But let's see, my 9/11 story is it was weird because 9/11 happened on September 11th. The Christmas before that, I was in New York City. Spent Christmas in New York City. And as we were leaving New York City, I'm in the back seat, feeling kind of sick. And then we passed by the Twin Towers. And I look up at them through the window and I get frightened out of my mind. I look at them and say, those towers are too tall. They're going to come down. This fear penetrated me. And they're going to come down. And then the morning of 9/11, I was obviously sleeping and I was dreaming. I was dreaming because I was woken up suddenly. A friend of mine called to tell us to put the TV on because planes hit the building. I was dreaming that I was in an airplane and we were circling the Twin Towers, which means I was actually dreaming of what was happening at that moment. Because when we turned on the TV, the second plane hadn't hit the second tower. And that's an honest to God. I mean, I've gotten a lot of dreams that were predictive. Sometimes it's 6 years before the thing happens. But that morning, that's the dream I had. But then again, I had that premonition the Christmas before, looking at those towers. And that it was really weird. It was just really, it's like, wow. That kind of predictive thing. I couldn't believe it. But obviously when you saw the plane go around and then go straight into the building, and it's the second building, the second time, you knew right away, this is not an accident. Like the friend who called thought it was an accident. Turn it on. This is like an accident. And when that second plane hit, this was not an accident. And people today, we forget that people today are still dying from breathing in all that stuff. First responders who've gotten a bad rap, because there's some first responders that aren't good. And there's some that our life depends on them. And we want to defund them. We want to destroy them. Our life depends on it. Was it 91% of the African American community says that they want cops? They do not want it defunded because they're the ones that are going to suffer the most. The freaking crazy. We're going nuts. We are going nuts. It's just, and so these people, these first responders, the police, the firemen, went in there, and these poor dogs went in there to save people's lives, and they kept going in and they kept going in. And these first responders are dying today of cancer and all sorts of maladies because they put their lives over here and they went to save anybody's life. Mm-hmm. Then they went in to salvage pieces of flesh. Mm-hmm. And then they had to figure out the DNA. What does this flesh belong to? So they can send it back to the family. These first responders, that is their vow. They take an oath. Their life is meaningless. Their life is to go and save other lives. That's what we have them for. If they're bad, then you root out the bad ones. Well, I agree. I hate the bad. I actually believe it. Somebody with my skin color, this could happen to me. I've had a policeman, a crime happened to me. And in fact, I was so scared afterwards because the policeman just basically didn't believe me. And it's like, it's like he was just lying to me. And I'm going, what do you mean you know exactly who did it? It's like, it just happened last night. It's like, I could tell that he's just lying and he's trying to what are you talking about? I was afraid to leave my house. I watched the summers go by and I was afraid to leave the house. I was afraid to leave my bed because should anything happen to me again, should something happen to me, nobody's going to believe me because of this. And then I get told by the woman who's in charge of taking care of the woman victims that which she didn't help at all, by the way. Thank God she's not working for them anymore. She told me that this particular detective, he got a promotion. And we have a female chief of police. He got a promotion. And he treated me like garbage. And I just said, you know what? Usually when a crime happens, you tell them everything. You tell them what goes on. And they say, if you remember anything else the next day, come in. Sometimes things come to you. He didn't do that with me. And I just said, you know what? I don't even care if I remember anything. If he said that, I could probably remember more detail they could give him, that maybe they could find the guy. But I was so scared. I'm going, what am I going to do if something else happens to me? What am I going to do and I have this detective, this police that is not working to help me or to help other victims, and that they get promoted. So I have with this skin color, these are people who are controlling. These are people who are on a power trip. And to them, it doesn't matter what color you are. They just get off on this kind of stuff. They're bad and they should be eliminated. They should not be police. Maybe they should be frying up hamburgers at McDonald's. But it's like, I couldn't even, I'm going, my God, if I were not didn't have white skin, regardless of what my DNA says, if I could go and I could say, I could have people outside marching, demanding that I get justice. There was nowhere for me to go because of the color of my skin. There was nowhere for me to go. I stayed in this room, in this bed, afraid to look out of that window for 2 years, at least 2 years. I did not leave the house. because of that. What do? I'm never going to be believed. So this we've got to just shut up and say human beings are human beings. We all suffer. We all suffer this. It's not just one group. In fact, they're making it. They're changing everything. But it's like we have to know that we all suffer in so many different ways. And the only way we can, but they don't want they want segregation. They don't want to eradicate racism. Mm-hmm. But the way to come together is to say, we're all God's children.
Yeah.
We all suffer. We're all human beings. And even the dogs suffer along with us, and the kitty cats. They can't pull a dead body out. They just can't do it. You can't expect cats to do that. As much as I love cats.
Well, let's hear from the cat's perspective.
Yeah, get the cat's perspective. Wow. I remember my aunt Angie said her house was on fire, and she didn't know it. She was sleeping, and her cat jumped on her head and started, dancing around on her head. And to let her, she said, if it wasn't for the cat, I wouldn't have gotten out alive. Mm-hmm. So the cat, they did have a bulldog. My Uncle Angelo had a bulldog. He farted all the time. I don't know what the bulldog did. I know what the cat did. But it's like, come on. We're human beings. If we can mate with each other, there's only one race. It's the human race. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to mate with each other. Otherwise, there might be a group of people that doesn't harbor hate in their hearts. We're all humans. We're all harboring hate and division. I don't know why I put myself in that group, but I'm a part of humanity, and humanity shares these emotions. And let's just see each other as children of God. See each other. A doctor will look at you and he'll see you as won't look at your race. He'll look at what's going on in your body. A doctor has to look beyond race. So there are some diseases that are like sickle cell anemia. Anemia is heavy in the African people of African descent. And there's another one, Jewish, I forget. It's because people need to not keep mating with their same group, with their like group. We have to mate outside. So we don't have two genes that could create some kind of disability or a health disorder. So there's a demand. It's almost like God saying, I demand that you not keep procreating within the same group, that you reach out and you love each other and you see each other as my children, as human beings, because that will make your children stronger instead of just staying in a small group and keeping the genetic pool. There's no mix in the genetic pool. I'm sure Robert Fried has all the fancy names for what I'm trying to say. But, but that's what God is demanding. We have to do it to survive, to be healthy. But it's like, do they want us to survive? Do they want us to be healthy? I don't even know what the answer is, because it's like, it just seems like, let's just stop the hate.
No, they want us to live like individual atomized lives where we're just watching porn on the internet, no family, no friends, no religion, nothing. Just being good little consumers.
Sounds like you're repeating the words to imagine.
Yeah.
No religion, no hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine no possessions. It's easy if you can.
Have you ever watched there's two movies that come to mind. Have you ever watched the movies Equilibrium or The Givers?
No.
So basically, what happens in those movies, they have kind of a similar plot line.
Well,
but
wasn't The Givers a sort of religious-based young adult novel?
I don't no, because religion is eliminated in that dystopia. Basically, what happens is that there's a world war, and these societies, they have to suppress their emotions because they believe that's what led to the destruction of that world war. And so what happens is that you have this dystopia where people they're neither happy nor sad. They're not marrying, but they're not divorcing. So, and I'm thinking like that's the kind of society that they want to impose on us.
Hmm. Yeah, and they want this. They want every demographic of society turned against each other. So this huge like administrative state can basically gain power, because when you have a national resolve, when you have a national identity, citizens tend to settle their affairs without the need of a huge administrative state.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of got.
I think they want us to fight with each other so they don't have to kill us off. We do it ourselves. They want us to be brought down to be subhuman, basically, or just war with each other and hate each other. And so they want to decrease the population of the world. They've been very open about this.
Yeah.
And they that way they don't get their hands dirty. That's all they do is they're in position of power, complete power. There's no way you can even get these people. They'll be in power forever, and they vote themselves raises. We're taking up their world. We're using their resources. We're taking up their coastlines. Them that's got shall get, and them that's not shall lose. Just like Billie Holiday wrote. I can't believe the screen is still blue. I have no idea what's going on. Screen is still blue. This computer is going to die. This is it. I won't be able to. This is the last live stream. So finally, YouTube will get their way. You don't have to shadow ban me anymore. My computer's dead. I'm gone. It was like, oh my God, I don't have any money. And I had to send that. I bought a refurbished Chromebook. Because of course the Chromebooks, they last a minute. And I bought a refurbished one just because it was a little cheaper. And I sent it back because I couldn't afford it. It's like, so this is probably my last live stream. So you don't have to take this one down too. They just took another video of mine down the other day. And it's like the video's been up for 9 months and they took it. I was like, now you find it? It's like, good Lord.
Put up some sort of payment system, some sort of PayPal, Patreon, whatever are the hipper ones.
There's nothing I can do. If I don't have a computer, the cell phone I can't really get YouTube Studio. I tried to download from the app YouTube Studio, but it only downloads my first channel, the Diamond Realm Studio. That's it. It won't do WickedFelina. So it's like, and this is like 4 years old. So this is on its way out too. These things we're not supposed to have them for 4 years. They want us to replace them every 2 years. So this is it. This is it, world. This is it, YouTube. You finally got rid of me, huh? So you keep getting rid of my subs and my views and shadow banning me and taking my videos down. Well, you've won. You've won. The end. This will be WickedFelina's last stream. I can't see a damn thing. Usually when this has happened, it comes back. This is not coming back. This is gone. This is gone. So anyway, what we should do is maybe do a prayer right now. I'll just mention there's a girl. I was not in her class. She's a very sweet girl, very petite, just sweet. Oh, just a good person, really good person. And her father was a good person. He used to be a mailman. And she was a stewardess. And she had to switch her flight on 9/11. She didn't know she could make that flight, so she switched it with another girl, another stewardess. And that stewardess, went right into one of the Twin Towers. And so her name is Jennifer. I won't give you the last name, but just keep her in your prayers. Father said that she's married too, totally lost her mind. So every day she cries and she can't get over the fact it's her fault that this girl died. And she can't get past that. So keep her in your prayers. And if you see this, Rush Limbaugh, why do I bring up Rush Limbaugh? Is because remember when Nike hired Colin Kaepernick, and they said, Colin or Kaepernick, come over here. What do you think about these Betsy Ross shoes that we're going to let off for the 4th of July? What do you think? Those are racist. Take them off the shelves. Well, Rush Limbaugh's wife, Catherine, decided, why don't we do t-shirts, Betsy Ross t-shirts, and all the money goes to the first responders and the victims' families. And if they need a mortgage to get their house paid off, anything that they need. And they sold, they millions of these. And so Rush took no profit. It went straight to the fund of the victims and first responders, which are victims too of 9/11. So Rush did more than just basically be, my father listened to him when I was young, and at first I didn't like him. I say, oh, feminazis, well, aren't those the women that care about the women that get raped? I didn't realize that there were Nazis. These feminists were over the cliff. They were a little loopy. And then, it was, of course, it was too late at that point. But before he got sick, I started to listen to him. I'm going, damn, this guy is good. Mm-hmm. This guy is really good. One of the things that makes him really good is, of course, he can read people very well. And he could read what the Democrats were doing. He could read their personalities, and he could read what they were going to do. And you listen to his voice, and it was so solid and so grounded and powerful that you listen to him, you think to yourself, somebody is watching over this whole thing. Somebody's out there. There's one man that gets this whole thing. And we can turn him on at noon every day, Monday through Friday. And we can get his take on whatever's going on. And he turns out to be right. He turns out to be right. And then I saw him smoking cigars. And I'm going, gee, that's going to kill him. I'm thinking this in my head. I guess I said, he must know what he's doing. I shouldn't be so picky. Don't be worried. He'll be okay. And so we know what happened. That's what he died of, lung cancer. But we did have a president in office that did give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which he deserved. And forget when he died, how long it was that he died after that. I'm not even sure if he even knew. I think he died before Trump lost the election to a man that got more votes than Barack Obama. I think he died before that. But, and they've got Buck Sexton and somebody else, I forget his name, Travis something or other, doing his slot at the EIB network, Excellence in Broadcasting. I was thinking I was going to send him a message, and millions of people sent him messages, and I didn't, because I just I want to word it right, and I don't want to make it go on too long, because I always talk for too long. And so I didn't send it. And I know he sent things to people who he tried to reach out to everybody who sent him a message, send them something. I mean, he's extremely generous. He did earn a lot in his life, but he deserved it. He said he'd been fired more times than he can count, because people didn't get the idea that one man could do a whole show on his own, a talk show for 3 hours, and have people listening to him. And he started doing this in the 80s. But yeah, so I regret not sending a message, but I was just saying, you can't do that to him. Millions of people are sending him messages. And if you send him something that's really long, they're not going to read it. My cousins all hate me because my emails are too long. They will not accept an email from.
Felina got blocked. Felina got blocked on the family email chain.
These are Italians. This is the Italian side, which is completely crazy, completely insane. But they all went to college. They're all extremely successful, and they all have money. So I didn't, and I regret doing that. But we kind of. I don't know if people know about that. If they didn't listen to Rush, they don't know that he did that, because people to this day are still dying. And those first responders who you wanted to fund are still dying because they put their life second. They even put their family second, because their family would lose them when they're running into the fire and the flames and the rubble, trying to get these bodies out. Even their families were put second, not just their lives, to save someone. And the World Trade Center is filled with people from all over the world, all races, all religions, all ethnicities. And it doesn't matter to a first responder. They go there to save anyone. You can't say that any of these people are racist. Who puts their life and their family's life on the line? They're going to lose them. And then they go in to pull, these people go in to find the pieces of the dead bodies. And we dare speak in whole against them. There are bad ones, like I told you. I had a bad one. Messed me up. And there was nobody I could sing anything to, because clearly I'm not, I'm not a, what do you call it? A vulnerable group. It's just like there's nobody. And it would be nice if they said, yeah, any cop that steps over the line, who does it to anybody, no matter what color anybody's skin is, or ethnicity or religion, will step in and say, hey, this isn't good. But everything is so PC in this town. And you get your female police chief. And it's like, and you couldn't even go to the female police chief for help. It's because I'm the wrong color. But my mother's parents were dark skinned. And my father's, genealogy goes back to Egypt. That's not white, but there's some white. So I came out white. And because of that, where do I go? Screwed my life up. And then it's like, well, that's just one of the things that screwed my life up. A lot of things. Of course, I was took care of my father.
This has become a vent stream.
Yeah, it is a vent stream. But no, it's just, the whole thing about what we've done to these first responders, who are not just firefighters, but the police.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I understand that there are bad policemen, and I understand how they can affect you. But it's not just one group that they do wrong to. When you've got a bad cop, there isn't just one group. It's everybody. And nobody gets this message that a bad cop doesn't help certain people of certain races or religions. A bad cop is just a bad cop, and they'll do it right down the line to everybody. Some more so than others. And we forget that. But these are the first responders, but they're the good ones who do their duty and put their families' lives, the heartbreak, and their lives meaningless to go in to save these people and then to pull out the pieces of their bodies so we could figure out the DNA. Who do we send this piece of flesh back to? These are the first responders. There's some bad, which I agree, but you've got to make it so all of us can complain about them. There's some voice, somebody will hear anybody who's a victim of a bad police officer, because that bad police officer will affect communities that you care about more than mine, right? They'll affect everybody. And these people, we forget. Remember when Rudy Giuliani, he brought the murder rate in New York City down from 2,500 a year to just 500. And most of those lives that he saved were African American and Hispanic minorities, because it was affecting minorities more. And now he is the devil. He's a crazy, senile old man. And he used to be America's mayor. It wasn't Bush that we looked to. We looked to Giuliani. Giuliani was the strength. He brought New York City back. He brought it back. And he kept the people strong. And he kept the city safe. It was one of the safest cities in the whole world. And now you can get raped in daylight. And now because he got on the Trump train, he's evil. He's senile. He's crazy.
And he had his law license revoked because he expressed the wrong opinions.
Because they don't want him working for Trump. They don't want him defending Trump.
So Ian Randall says, "Do you need a new secondhand machine?" He's referring to you. So get in contact with Ian Randall.
Yes, I do. I'm looking at a blue screen here. I don't think this is ever coming back. It's gone. Once it's worn out, it's worn out. That's why we do these live streams that are 3 hours long. I'm saying, I can't do it.
Michael Archangel says, "Felina, do your live stream from your phone that has YouTube Studio app of any of your channels."
Yeah, the app will only get the Diamond Realm. It won't do all my channels. For some reason, I put the app on and it won't do anything but the Diamond Realm.
And guess with the Flating Atheism live stream to rebuild. Yeah, well, we had a bunch of live streams on my channel, but I got really nervous in the first months of Biden's presidency. I deleted them because I was afraid I was going to be hit with strikes. Yeah, so we should do more live streams on my channel though.
Well, I have to have my phone. Remember, we did a live stream from my phone, and I was like green. It was just so bad. The picture was just so bad. It's just, and this is gonna die soon too. Everything is old. I feel old. Yeah. So let's do a prayer. Did you want to start any of you out there beyond the blue screen want to start off the prayer? I can't see anybody. So do you want to start the prayer?
9/11 prayer? I mean,
just for, not just for the victim, obviously you always pray for the victims, for the first responders. We get good policemen, but a prayer to heal the world, because we're coming apart at the seams. And that's one thing that 9/11 did, was it brought us together. Everyone was sensitive. We were all sensitive to each other, and we were nicer to each other because we knew we were all hurting. I've never quite seen anything like that before. It was such a horrible thing, but humanity reached out to humanity, and we were all one. We were just one people, because the trade centers were populated by people from around the world, ethnicities, races, religions, everything. It hurt the heart of humanity, and we need to come together. We need to come together because we're tearing at the seams, and it's only going to get worse. I mean, I don't want another tragedy, but we want to wake up to the people who are filled with hate and division. We need to wake up. We need them to wake up to say, we all want peace. Don't you want peace? Or do you want to be full of hate? You're telling me that I'm full of hate. And it's like, no. It's like, we've never seen these kinds of things before. We've never seen the kind of hatred that we saw the past 4 or 5 years. Horrible reenactments that I was talking to Deflating Atheism about the other night. And we're even worse because we're on the wrong side. It's like, no, I want peace. I want love. I want racism to end. To finally be, and we were almost at the end of it. And so many people went out and voted for Obama because they thought, this is it. This will be the end of racism. We will have the Black president, and this will be the end.
He was the first post-racial president.
That's right. He was. What happened?
It was
Donald Trump ran for office. If this country was that racist, he would have never been elected, let alone twice. Because all the racists would say, I don't want no minority in the White House. I'm going to go out and I'm going to vote. You vote 10 times and I'll vote 100 times. We're going to make sure that we don't got no minority in that White House.
Notice that Felina always goes Southern. You always go Southern when you want to do your.
That's where the segregation, Jim Crow laws came from. That's where slavery was. You got to go to the South because that's where it came from. But they would have gone out in droves to make sure, if we were that racist, that he would not have been elected, let alone twice. Well, he got in the first time, but we're going to make sure he doesn't get in the second time. And they would have gotten out in droves to stop it. If this country was that racist, that's what they would have done. This is insanity. Oh, Donald Trump comes along. Oh, the guy who got the same award from Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton as they gave to Muhammad Ali and Rosa Parks for hiring and promoting more minorities than any businessman ever, and then giving the building they asked him to find so they could rent for the Rainbow Coalition. He bought it for them. That one that when Jennifer Houston, was it Jennifer Houston? She was in Dreamgirls.
Hudson.
Her family, from her brother-in-law, shot up her family, even the adolescent. And he took the family that was left. He took all of them and brought them to Trump resorts and said, I'm going to keep I'm going to keep the media away from you. You can stay here as long as you need to. I will feed you. I will support you. I will keep anything you need. This is the racist. This is the racist who sued Palm Beach because certain sections would not allow Jews or African Americans to own or belong to certain resorts. So he sued the city for $75 million. This man is the only man that has done anything to end segregation and racism. That's why all these politicians are so freaking jealous, because all they did was get elected over and over again, promising things that they never delivered, raising their pay, and just demonizing their opponents. They're jealous because he did something when he wasn't even in office, and then he gets elected. He didn't even bother running for city clerk, and he just walks into the White House. We can't have this. We must destroy him. You bunch of do-nothings. You're in there. We're paying you. You do something to help the American people. Do something now to help us, instead of passing these trillion-dollar packages, which don't help Americans at all. Don't help the poor Americans. Don't help the people who are suffering. We're all afraid. We all have to stay inside, and we all have to wear masks like we're in some kind of weird movie of the future that has turned us all into drones. Give us our humanity back. Let us have our humanity. Freaking freaks. It used to be, this is the way it used to be in Washington, because I knew a lot of the family, knew a lot of people who worked in big positions in Washington. And this was the truth. On camera, oh, we hate the Republicans. They're racist. Oh, we hate the blah, 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 blah. And they do that. But it's not as bad as what we've seen with Trump. And then they go out at night and they go to the same bars and restaurants, and then they chum it up because they're basically all friends. They do this to drum it up, to get us all riled up, and they're playing a game. But this is actually the truth. That's what I say. It's the Republicans and the Democrats. That's both basically the same party, but it seems like the Republicans do nothing, and the Democrats do stuff that's not good. But they used to be friends, and it used to be just a game, But you see, Trump was an outsider. He wasn't a politician. He wasn't playing the game in front of the camera and then said, oh, I'll pretend that I hate blah, 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 and I'm going to do something, and then go out at night and drink. It doesn't even drink alcohol. He's the crazy one. He doesn't even drink alcohol. The jealousy is unbelievable. That's why we have to stop right now and say a prayer. Say a prayer for not just America, but the world. What's going on in Australia, what's going on in China. I know they got the pandas and they outlawed feminism. I think that's great. I think she is really on the right.
Xi Jinping is based.
Yeah, he's on the right road. And men have to be men. That's another new law. Men
Can I say something real quick?
Yes, you can.
I was kind of like arguing with an atheist, and he was doing the typical how Scandinavia is so good without God. And I said, no, Scandinavia is not good without God. China is, because they're actually kind of based.
Yeah. Oh, you could go North Korea. North Korea is more atheistic than but
the dear leader is God. The dear leader is God.
But they banned feminism and LGBT, so I think that's kind of based.
Yeah,
Well, they're also cracking down on video games, Robert Fried.
Awesome.
Okay.
I know video. Wow, that's a good one. Crack down on video.
You got to consider here in the West, children are like gaming like 15 hours a week. That's
Yeah.
unhealthy.
Yeah, that's it's. I never got into video games. I could understand the point. Why don't you go out and live life? Smell the fresh air. It's like
I played video games when I was younger, but yeah, I could kind of see where they're getting detrimental to where people are playing them just too long and they're not socializing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, base is G.
It's like there's changes. You know, of course, the pandas make everything better. You know.
Even like Stalin was kind of based compared to now.
The what was kind of based?
Joseph Stalin was kind of based compared to like the modern SJWs.
Yeah, he would have no tolerance for these green-haired Rachel Maddow social justice warriors who.
Well, they killed any group that they didn't like. I mean, they sent them to the gulag.
But the green-haired SJWs would be absolutely useless in Stalin's society because they couldn't do.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I can write a blog. I can write a blog. That's my skill to bring to the workers' revolution. Is I can blog. No, you're useless. Go against the wall.
I know they're totally useless. They couldn't even rub two sticks together to make a fire to cook their food.
You'd have Chaz, where they had Home Depot plants. They're like, why won't you grow fast?
Yeah, it's like once she, you know, I do stop doing this to the Uyghurs, stop child slavery, you know, slave working conditions. Once you stop that, you could possibly be the greatest leader in the world. You know, get rid. But you know, I know. So there's some good points. Even China's got good points because he's looking at America. It's like, America, wake up. He's looking at America and he sees what's destroying us.
Well, yeah, they also banned sissy and effeminate men from going on TV.
Oh, that's what I said. Men have to be men.
Yes.
He's looking and seeing what's destroying America. And I mean,
he could very well be bankrolling all of the anti-toxic masculinity.
Yeah, they say that they probably are. That the China is probably doing this, and he's just looking at us going crazy. This country is just. People have totally lost their minds.
Well, because wokeness, if it were to infiltrate China, it would cause the decline of their society. So,
he would allow it. One second, he would quash that. That wouldn't even get its pants on to even walk across the room to leave the door. He would quash that immediately. Absolutely.
Yeah, just as Viktor Orban banned gender studies in Hungary, which was awesome.
Yeah, so it's like. You know, if we have to look, this guy is watching us and picking out the things that's destroying our society, destroying America. And I said, I can't have that in this country. These women are screaming about their period, and they have to pay tax on their tampons, and they have pussy hats on their heads.
And they're not reproducing. They're not having families.
They're not reproducing. There's like, yeah. It's like, what do you think the world thinks when they look at us? And there's third world countries that they go and protest the countries that treat women that don't even have vaginas because they've removed them. Go protest there. You know, it's like, what are you protesting? You're just destroying the freest society that's ever been. And where people, you could be born impoverished and you can be president of the United States. That's Abraham Lincoln's story. His father was incredibly abusive. His mother died young of this horrible disease, and he watched her decay in front of his eyes. It was a horrible death. And he didn't even go to college. He read books, became a lawyer from reading books. And I guess he tried to run for like Senate or something. He lost. Then he ran against Stephen Douglas, Democrat from the South. And Stephen Douglas, see, back then there was no TVs, but people knew what was going on, like the debates, the presidential debates, because they read the newspaper. And the newspaper told you everything that was said in the debate. And one of the things he said, Stephen Douglas said, the Democrat, slave, promoting slavery. He said that behold, I present to you your first Africano president. Why did he say that? Well, Abraham Lincoln was a Melungeon. He had dark skin, he had blue eyes, dark skin. The Native American communities and African American communities actually they couldn't belong to, they were rejected from those communities, and they would hide in the mountains, they would hide in poor places because they didn't even belong to those communities. But he announced to the world that Abraham Lincoln was mixed race. Everybody knew it. And he didn't get one vote in the South. He won by all the votes in the North. So you tell me how racist was America. And he got voted in twice, eliminated slavery, and was martyred by John Wilkes Booth, a Southern Democrat. Killed him for it. And we're tearing his statue down, and we're tearing Frederick Douglass's statue down, a slave that freed himself, a black slave that freed himself. These people don't even know what they're tearing down. They have no idea. But everybody in this country knew that he was mixed. Abraham Lincoln, they knew it, and they voted for him. So how racist was this country? The South lost because there weren't as many Southerners that were racist. He didn't get one vote in the South. But it wasn't as big as the North. The majority of America was not racist. People don't realize that you go back in time and you think, it was worse then, or it's worse. You don't even know when it was worse. Back then, the fact that this man got elected president, and Barack Obama is not the first biracial president or African-American president. You had a triracial president. The people way back then, when we were all supposed to be white racists, voted him into office twice to end slavery. That's the reason why they didn't let Texas into the Union. They broke away from Mexico, because Mexico was like, we want to keep this frontier country. We want you to kill the Comanches. They didn't like that. So they fought a war with Mexico, broke away from Mexico. And the northern states had a majority. And they said, we do not want to let Texas into the Union because we don't want to expand the slave states. And they keep peddling this idea that America has manifest destiny. We want all the land. Well, if that's true, they would have taken, and were racist, they would have taken Texas in a heartbeat. But the northern states said no for 10 years. They kept Texas out. We don't want to expand the slave states. People are but back then, Black people were not 100% human. No, because it's a republic. It's a representative government. They didn't want to give more power to the South. If you counted every slave, then the South would have more representatives than the North, and the South, the slave-owning, KKK, Jim Crow, racist South would have more power than the North that was trying to eradicate slavery. People don't even know the truth about that. And it was Thomas Jefferson who said when he got to be president, he was the third. One was John Adams, the second, he was third. He spoke 6 languages fluently. The reason why he spoke 6 languages because he wanted to read books in their original language. He didn't want to read them translated because something could get lost. And no, he wasn't a Muslim. He had a Quran because he wanted to understand why the Barbary pirates were killing Americans and took like 1,500,000 or more European white people as slaves. But he said slavery doesn't belong in this country. It's no place in this country. It's no place in the vision of America. And what people knew was they knew what the Constitution said about our rights. All men are created equal. Like they knew a few things, even if they weren't heavily educated. They went to church every Sunday and they heard the teachings of Jesus Christ. Okay. And if you put that together and then you look at slavery, you say, you know what? This is wrong. As much as they say, oh, the Marxists have to eradicate religion because they're not racist, right? It was the fact that people went to church and heard the teachings of Christ and knew bits of the Constitution and our Bill of Rights that people said, no, this is wrong. Slavery is wrong. All people are equal. That's the idea that got into their heads. It is religion. It is the teachings of Jesus Christ is not an evil. It's only if you twist them and you use and you lie about them and you use that against people. It's not if you know what you're reading. It's not. This is what ended slavery. This is what made people rise up and say this is wrong. Even the civil rights movement, the same thing. This is wrong. We're Christians. We can't allow this. Look at the teachings. Look at our founding. It was the documents of the founding fathers that ended slavery and that finally got them to pass civil rights. But thank you, California, for destroying civil rights. California, the most Democrat, the most, progressive state in the nation. Civil rights, so we're not going to have that anymore. I don't, obviously, I only reach YouTube's algorithms. And I reach a few people because I'm shadow banned. And it's like you want these people to wake up before it's too late. You're walking into your own prison. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to be in the gulag because you thought you were following what the dictator wants. Oh, the dictator changed his mind. The dictator changes his mind every single freaking day. History has changed. Laws are changed. And before you know it, you're in the but you were a good revolutionary. You beat up and killed all these people. Good for you. But no. The dictator just changed. You don't realize that. The dictator will change his mind every single freaking day. And you're going to be, people start the revolution, never end the revolution.
I was going to say that's what happened to the old faction known as the old Bolsheviks. By the time Stalin, late 30s, Stalin launched his Great Purge. They were like the first on the chopping block.
And the Mensheviks, yeah.
Yeah, the Mensheviks were purged by the Bolsheviks earlier on in the 20s.
Mm.
Yeah, well, they're going to have a big wake-up call. We might all be dead. Clearly, what I'm saying now, here I am trying to bring peace and erase racism altogether, because I believe all humans are children of God. But communism, fascism doesn't allow for God. But we're all humans and we all suffer the same. We all have sorrows. We all have that we don't even tell our neighbors about. We suffer and we all of us suffer in silence. And little do we know that we have so many things in common. And one of the things is sorrow, and one of the things is laughter. Mm-hmm. We have the capacity for both. And there's these things that make us in common, that make us all human. I mean, God Almighty, do you want to pray or do you want to just watch America burst into flames?
Nobody
wants to pray. You know, since you're not praying, Felina's going off on a tailspin. You know, she's drinking red blend something or other. I got 2 for $10. It had a pretty label. It's got a pretty label.
Please contribute to Felina's Red Blend Fund. she's taking her computer money and putting it into
$5, $5. But you know what? That's what this the other night is the thing that got rid of my asthma. And I was singing like a dramatic soprano. I sounded real good after I was really drunk. I was sounding real
Little known fact about Felina, she actually has a lovely singing voice, but nobody has ever heard it.
No, I can. I couldn't believe it the other night. I'm going, holy shit. I can do this. And I didn't think I could do this anymore. With the asthma, one day you wake up, you can't speak. And then the next day, I mean, all of a sudden, gee, I can sing. Or I have this beautiful voice. Or I listen to my old videos and go, where did that voice go? You know, that's a really good voice. But anyway, we should pray.
Mm-hmm.
We should ask, I say the Holy Father, our Father in heaven, our parent in heaven, because God is the creator. And God has, being the creator, but God is a spiritual being. God is actually neither. But God encompasses everything because he created us. He, she created us. The reason why we use the he, she is because Greek was the language that everyone knew, and everything was translated from Greek into another language. That was the common language. Today it's English. But
it's his
Greek
pronouns.
You have to have a pronoun, male or female. But this rabbi in Brooklyn, Yossi Yitzchak Serebryansky, Yitzchak, it's Yitzchok. It's his middle name. He said that he will only call God outside of calling God in the temple, the holy names of God, because they will not call God the names of God outside of the temple. That's why they use the word Hashem or Hashem, because that means the one that has no name, because you can only speak God's name. It used to be in front of the Ark of the Covenant, but in the Holy of Holies in the temple. It's the only time you can do it. Otherwise, that's taking the name of the Lord in vain. We misunderstand that and say, oh, just don't swear. No, it's anything outside the temple. You can't say the holy names of God's outside the temple. But he said, he says he calls God the creator because God can create anything. God creates male and female and all that stuff. And God is a spiritual being. If God was this huge human being with flesh and bones, he would have fallen out of the sky already. So we know he's not that. So he's spiritual. So, if you're Catholic, you go name the Father and Son, the Holy Spirit. If you're not Catholic, you don't have to do that. Dear God in heaven, the Father, the parent in heaven, our parent in heaven, that is beloved by all of us, even those who don't realize that they love you. Sometimes that love is in hiding because they don't know you and they've never known you. God, you love us so dearly. You love us so greatly that you created this world, which is amazing. And we're constantly discovering all your creativity everywhere, your great intellect in everything in creation, the mysteries, the more mysteries that we solve, the more mysteries that we find. And that's a great mystery. Is like science will solve something. No, we know the answer, but then it opens up a whole new can of worms. There's so, because you've solved that one mystery, all of a sudden you've opened up more, thousands of more mysteries by solving one mystery. And that's another mystery of this world that people don't realize. And we'll never get ahead of you. We'll never know everything. Well, you as we grow and evolve, hopefully getting better, you're far ahead of us. You're even growing and expanding and evolving and getting more awesome. And in your awesomeness, in your creativity, you love us. Your capacity for love is endless. And you're patient because we're miserable and we are rotten, and there is so much hate and division down here, and it's getting worse. And you look at us and you wait. You wait. You don't strike us with a thunderbolt. You wait. You're patient with us until we open our eyes to see the truth. Don't we know that the world that we're living in and the way we're running things is awful? It is destroying everything. We're pulling the pieces of every living thing apart. So like when we find a daddy long legs when we're children, let's pull all the legs off. That's what the humanity is doing to itself. Let's just pull us all apart and let the body fall to the earth. What a cruel and horrible thing, even to a spider, to do. But we're doing that to humanity, unless we forget that we are the same human flesh and bones with sorrow and pain and happiness and joy and love and the capacity to be better, that we can enjoy each other's humor, each other's beauty, each other's intellect. It doesn't matter how smart you are, or if you think that you're stupid. There's something that even those who we think aren't smart, all of a sudden, how did you do that? How did you even know how to do that? Did you read a book? No, I just do that. Well, then we realize the people we thought were stupid aren't so stupid. Dear God, there are demons running all over this planet. The proof is the amount of exorcists, thousands and thousands. They can't crank out enough. And that's the only thing that makes sense, that we've lost our freaking minds. Once a woman puts a vagina hat on her head and then complains that she has to pay tax, actually, you don't have to pay tax for tampons. Newsflash. None of that stuff is taxable. Oh, is that Ashley Judd said she doesn't want to pay for it? She wants the government. Oh, yeah. Do you want some government tampons? That's going to be comfortable. That's going to be really comfortable. We are insane. We've lost our minds and we need sanity back. And the only thing that brings sanity back is peace. Peace and love. That we can look into the eyes of our neighbor and we can see ourselves reflected back. This is a human being with different life experiences. Maybe it's because they've suffered that they are the way they are, and either good or bad. And unless you do something, we can only do so much. I will promise you that I will love my neighbor. I will promise you that I will always do good for my neighbor. I'll promise you that I will love humanity and not do any harm, not even to your creatures. My Lord in heaven, I promise you, I will do my part, because I know just asking a miracle for you and not doing anything myself, that's selfish. We are your children, and you've given us the capacity to change things ourselves, to make things better, because you're our Father. And we have the capacity, we have more in us that's miraculous and good than we even realize, because you are our Father. You are our parent in heaven, and you've given us these tools, and we don't even know we have them until we reach out and we do the smallest of good deeds. And good deeds can be very small, but you do them, and then humanity stops and said, why, walking that blind man across the street without a thought, why don't I do such things? Why did they think of this? It makes humanity stop for a second. That came so naturally to that person. They just saw and they did. It makes us stop, but it should make us stop to realize that we have the capacity to do all these things and more. Goodness is inside us. Help us. Oh, dear Lord, help us that the evil doesn't overcome us. Mm-hmm. It seems like the world is overrun by demons. Dear Lord, help us. Help us be strong and to reject them and to see them, to see clearly when evil is present, and give us the tools, or awaken us to the tools that you have given us on how to eradicate this evil. And I know it's not killing and destruction or calling people names and destroying their lives and livelihoods. It's not what's going on today. That's not the answer. To realize that we have a soul, and that soul is a part of you. It came from you. It's endless. Let us realize that we have that immortal soul. It doesn't matter what our body feels. We have something inside of us that's eternal. Though we turn to dust, we have something that's eternal, that is immortal, that is of you. And one day this thing that's inside of us, should we be good and should we try, will one day see your face. Oh, dear Lord, I ask that you show us your face today, because we need it. We need it. But I don't know if you
Crystal Sonesti, Christ is risen. That's what that means.
Yes, that's Greek.
Yeah, because I'm Orthodox.
Yes. Did you want to say anything, Rob?
Well, I just ask God to bring healing and unity, and let us guide us to recognize our shared humanity, and let all truth be revealed. Let the lies of the powerful be revealed. Let justice be brought to those who might feel that they are too powerful for justice. And let there be peace and prosperity and freedom within America and throughout the world in this year and for decades to come.
Lord, send us love. Let us know what love really is. So I think most of us have forgotten what love is. Love is healing, and love is kind, and love is peace. And we don't need to destroy someone else to get ahead or be better or be more prosperous. We need each other. We need each other to help us all get to heaven. Because it's very hard, especially these days, for one of us to do it on our own. The Lord, thank you for hearing our prayer. And may you hear the prayers of so many millions tonight who remember 9/11. Thank you, Lord. Let there be a miracle. Please send us strength so we can make that miracle happen, because we have it in our power. God will say, you have it in the power you've got the power in you to change all this. I think it's just simple kindness, just love of humanity, knowing that we're all suffering, how hard it is, how hard life is, especially when inflation is taking over, so it makes it harder for the poor. Doesn't help. But send us that strength that we get through this. And dear Lord, you were crucified in the most horrible way. And I know that when I say, oh, don't let us suffer. But you suffered. You suffered in the most horrible way. And you were strong. And you were silent as a lamb led to slaughter. You know what we're going through. And you know what we need. And I know you will be with us to the end of time. Praise be to God. Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Amen.
Can you still not see us?
I still can't see you. The screen must have just burnt out.
Okay. Well, Ian Randall is making a generous offer here. Dell Inspiron desktop computer PC. Do you want it? My gift. So he has a bunch of specs there.
I would. I would. It's like, I can't do. How generous and how kind of you. Thank you so much.
Well,
I can't even see. I can't see anything. Everything is just blue. And this has never happened before. Like, for a second it happens, but usually when I click on something, it comes back. This is gone.
Okay, well, thank you for your generous offer. You can email me, deflatingatheism@earthlink.net. You could message me through Instagram or something, and I'll get you in contact with Felina's email, because she doesn't put her email out there. But I'll put you in contact with Felina. Thank you for the generous offer.
Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless all of you. And you know what? Doesn't matter how many people.
His email. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many people have watched or will watch. We love you all. We care for you, and we hope for a better future for you, your family, your loved ones, and all of us. So thank you for joining us. You're so kind to come in and spend this time with us. That so I'm not I'm sitting here talking to a screen and looking insane. So thank you for your generous time, and go out and do a good deed tomorrow, even if it's just smiling at someone or opening up a door and letting them go in. There's so many things, and across the street, and thank the cars for stopping and letting you cross. It just so many little things that we can do that just makes life easier for our fellow humans, you know? Okay, so was there anything else we wanted to do tonight or say?
Well,
I originally wanted to kind of get into like how 9/11 happened and the things kind of leading up to, our invasions, but I guess I could wait. I mean,
yeah, we're going on 3 hours and 15
Okay, we're on 3 hours. Yeah, and this computer, I'll probably not even be seeing a blue screen. I'm supposed to do that show with you, Robert Freed, tomorrow night. Unless
I might have to change it.
Unless this comes back. I mean, if this computer comes back, which I don't it comes back for a second. This is not a good thing. It's been good. It's been blue for too long, but we'll just hope for the best that we can do something. We can do that show tomorrow night.
Okay. Well, I might have to reschedule because I'm pretty busy tomorrow.
Oh, okay. All right. So you just let me know.
Yeah. It'll probably be Monday, maybe.
Okay. All right. So we can do Monday. Even if I can do it on my cell phone. The picture's awful, but you know, I'm really talking to you. You don't have to look at me.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty. God bless all of you. Thank you for joining in. Robert Fried and Deflating Atheism. And God bless you. And thank you for joining us tonight to remember 9/11 tragedy and remember to do random acts of kindness. Remember when that was a thing? That was a bumper sticker once. Let's make that happen. Let's take it off of the bumper sticker and make it happen. Make a better world.
Around 20 years ago, that was popular. Yeah.
Random acts of kindness. I did think was, yeah, I guess it would have to be a long time ago because nobody seems to be remembering it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right next to the Free Tibet bumper sticker. You just don't see those anymore. But yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Free Tibet. That's right. I can't even stop this stream because the screen is all blue.
Well,
I can't even like go off air, you know, like stop the stream. I can't do anything.
You're just gonna have to use up your StreamYard time. Just get your StreamYard time to the maximum.
Yeah, the whole thing tomorrow morning, everything is going to be used up. The entire month is going to be gone. Oh my God.
That could really be a problem. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I love all of you, every single one of you. You're all wonderful and beautiful and good and have the capacity to do even more than you're doing now. But you have the capacity, we all have the capacity for love and kindness. And we have to get going and doing that job so we can make this world a better place. God bless you, YouTube and Google, and we love you for making this stream happen. So we can, so we appreciate you too, okay? Alrighty. God bless all of you.